Okay. Hopefully this is better. I'm not even going with an intro this time. It still is showing me that the connection is unstable. So hopefully this still looks okay for you guys. Okay. I mean it's at least better, I think, than before. Okay, I'm not even doing an intro, obviously. So love having all of you here. By the way, Sandra Ramirez was in the chat last time, gave 10 Legal Bites memberships to people in the chat. Thank you, Sandra. I don't think she's here yet in the new chat, but anyway, when she does pop in, thank you. And let's jump right in because there's stuff happening. It looks like they've recalled Craig Ramone. I'm not sure why they did this. So, all right.
Yes, I do.
No, 2 over, it says Kurt L. event or groups. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Was Kurt L. at the meetup group at Deer Valley on the day of the crash?
Yeah, Kurt was the one who organized that day.
Okay. Go back to the left and look at Very T. Are you able to recognize the photo above Very T?
Yeah.
It looks like Terry, and Terry was the one who organized
the Genergy News stuff was entered.
Meetup groups up at Alta.
This was some kind of communications behind the scenes. I saw something about.
That's all I have. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Bueller. Mr. Egan?
I saw something about there was some new evidence that was found. I don't know what it was. I wasn't able to catch it because I was so focused on trying to get the internet back up.
Mr. Ramone, good to see you again.
So,
I have a couple questions from the defense.
And Squirrel, thank you for the reminder. I always appreciate
the first would be at the start of this page, and I haven't used this Elmo projector before, so give me a second. Do you see that
I need my internet
on page 2?
Be smoother.
Got it. Thank you. I have to press focus. Okay, there you are. So you see that there's some photos there at the bottom of the page.
Yes.
And do you recognize the photo there of the ski patroller?
Yes.
Was that Whitney Smith?
That would be Whitney Smith.
I believe so.
The ski patroller who responded to
cross-examination.
Mr. Sanderson on the hill.
Yes.
And cared for him during the urgent care or the first aid clinic visit that he had there on the ski hill.
Yes.
And I do not see any videos there. Were there any, to your memory, GoPro or other videos posted on this webpage?
No.
And then, and I believe you're unaware of any GoPro footage at all. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then if you go to page, let's match it up with mine here, page 7. Actually, your name is cut off at the top there. So if you look back at page 6, can you see that it shows your name and then goes on to page 7 where there's at the very top there a note that you wrote. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And in that note, you write, Terry did not know his name. I asked Terry what his name was and he did not know. But I believe you've told the jury last week that he did remember his name.
It was, he had to really think hard about it. It took like 4 or 5 seconds for him to remember his name.
But that's not what you wrote here. You wrote here, Terry did not know his name.
When I first asked him, he didn't know his name. He had to really think about it.
I asked Terry what his name was and he did not know.
Yeah, he when I asked him, he didn't know his name, and then he just took some time to kind of just think about it, and then after about 4 or 5 seconds, he just said, Terry.
Okay. So what you wrote here is not what you told the jury last week. Is that fair to say?
Could you please repeat that?
Just here in your note, you do not say that he did later remember his name. You just say he didn't remember it all. And as I understand it, that was different than what you told the jury last week. Is that correct?
Yes. When I was basically was talking about this, I didn't go into much detail, on this. I was just making a point that he was having a hard time knowing what his name was.
Okay, so let's go to this last page. Well, I guess there's a kind of blank page at the end, but page 8, the last page with your comments on it. Do you see up there at the top another one of your comments?
James, you can expand that.
Okay.
You can zoom if you want.
Yeah, that is hard to see.
No, just that focus.
I'm learning old technology. I appreciate this. Thank you. Okay, so in this comment that you wrote, correct? This top comment is yours, Mr. Ramon?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and in this comment you wrote, Gwyneth took out Terry last week. Last Saturday, her son broke his arm skiing at Park City. How did you know that?
There's a lady I know that works at works at Snowbird and Deer Valley. She works up at the Montage or Deer Valley, and she told me.
Okay, and then Gwyneth was staying at the Montage. How did you know that?
That's what she told me.
And why were you talking to her about Gwyneth?
She knew what happened, and then she told me that what happened.
Sorry, that's not clear to me. So she knew what happened.
She knew that that Gwyneth took out
Okay, we're back. Sorry, I totally had RBF because I was just concentrating, and we're back. Okay. Okay. All right. What have I missed?
Craig, can you look at page 6 again?
Okay. So this is the
And in the middle under very T, do you see that where it says, yes, Kurt, you organized a perfect day?
Yes, I do.
And then look at the number of days it is. Is it 2,584?
Yes, it is.
And then your comment below that. It says 2,583 days ago.
Yes.
So those comments were made on different days.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any follow-up, Mr. Egan? Okay, you may step down, Mr. Ramon.
Okay, thank you.
You still
Missed it.
remain subject to the orders of the court until the case is over or you're released. So thank you.
Thank you.
okay.
What should I do with this?
Leave it right there. Plaintiff, you may call your next witness.
Thank you for coming.
Plaintiff's call. Mr. Terry Sanderson.
All right, Terry Sanderson. Here we go. He's testifying.
Hi. Please raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Have a
You
seat.
absolutely.
Good morning, sir.
You don't need to add absolutely. Just say I do. Keep it straightforward.
Terry, I want you to get comfortable and speak into the mic, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Could you state and spell your name for the record, please?
Yes. My name is Terry, Terry, Howard, Howard,
Kurt, check your
Sanderson,
DMs.
Sanderson.
Thank you. Now, Terry, this is the 5th day of trial. We started last Tuesday. You weren't here much last week, were you?
Not at all.
In the courtroom. Were you in the courthouse?
Yes, definitely.
Ooh. Yeah, wasn't there a rule that they couldn't talk about it? So, I mean, obviously they would be opening the door here. So, okay, so this is an interesting point here because obviously this has been a huge point of contention. Oh, hey. Hey, Kurt,
Hey.
how's it going?
Hey, stranger. Who are you?
How are you? It's been a while since we've
Good to
been
see
on
you
a
again.
stream together.
I
Yeah,
know.
good to see you
It's
too.
nice.
I think we've got like a similar kind of color scheme in our backgrounds. Nice.
Well, I'm glad I picked one that was close to you. That's nice.
Nice.
We're simpatico.
Yes,
Hive mind.
exactly. Yeah, we've got a theme going.
Mm.
So
So we're 2 questions into this and we're already objecting. That's hilarious.
I mean, that's
Lord.
par for the course in this trial.
I've seen some of the luring, not very much because it's been
Terry,
hard to
did
watch.
you want to be here the last 4 days, last week, inside the courtroom?
I love spending time with my daughters and have them hear what they have to say. But in this case, I didn't want to be here because I wanted them to speak totally freely and without the discomfort of being in my presence if they had something to say.
Is that why you weren't here?
Absolutely, yes.
Uh-huh. Okay.
We're going to cut to the chase on a lot of things because I made counsel a promise
I
that
don't
I would have
understand why
you
you asked those
in
questions.
less than an hour.
Wow.
And
I
so I'm going to be true to my word here. It's 10 o'clock. I will
Lord.
we'll be before 11. Okay. I want to talk about skiing.
Whoa, it's gonna be a short
Tell the
draft.
jury about your ski experience. What type of skier were you?
At that time, or do you want some background?
We don't need a whole lot of background.
Okay.
Back in 2016, what type of skier were you?
I was advanced intermediate. There was no places I would go except serious bumps, narrow little gulches, and didn't do any big jumps. So other than that, I would go just about anywhere.
Okay. How often would you ski?
2 to 3 times per week.
Okay. For how many years?
Well, I started 37 years ago. It was a winter sport for my family. We lived at high elevation.
Okay. And in all of your years, other than the ski collision with Miss Paltrow, have you ever been in another ski accident?
Never.
Have you ever skied with the ski patrol?
As a matter of fact, I had the good fortune. I learned to ski from a family that owned a ski resort. They were relation, and they would come out to Snowbird, and they were, I think, it was a whole family-run operation with 8 children, and so they were ski patrollers and they were instructors, and I had the very best of company every winter for a week when the kids were out of school. And then I had the good fortune of having a Lions Club friend, Scott, who's still a dear friend, that lives up in Spokane, and he was a ski patroller for Targhee. And he said, Terry, come up with me, on this weekend. And I said, I'll slow you down. And he said, you know what? Just follow me and do what I do. And that's what I did. And I had the good fortune of spending a lot of time with Scott and seeing and observing what ski patrols do and how they calm people down and reassure them they're going to be okay. So I really appreciated that and experience.
So it sounds like you've skied at Snowbird, skied at Targhee. Had you ever skied at Deer Valley on the day of the collision?
No.
That was your first time ever skiing
It
at Deer Valley?
was.
Okay. Let's talk about that day.
I would
He's-
like
A couple
He's 2
of
to 3 times a
preliminary
week and
things.
never
I
skied
asked
there
Ms.
before?
Paltrow on Friday how tall she was.
For
How
37
tall
I
years.
should know this.
I think I'm now 5'5".
And what was your weight at the time of the collision?
Well, in the VA, you don't take anything off. Whatever you walk in with, your coats, heavy coats in wintertime, boots, walls.
I give that excuse to when I
So-
how much did you weigh about?
Fully dressed, I was, or undressed, probably 63, 62 pounds, 163, 162.
Okay, all right. So the jury's heard about meetup groups. What is a meetup group?
A meetup group was just a lifesaver for me being new to this area. Hard to accumulate friends. And so when a fellow that I was on a hike with, a new fellow, said, have you heard of Meetup? And I hadn't. So he says, look it up and sign up. And I did. And it was a wonderful organization of groups of people where you had a shared interest, whether it was dancing or concerts or skiing. And so
I used
signed
Meetup,
up and joined some
recommended.
groups, and it was really a life changer.
Okay, so my understanding is the day of this ski collision, you were with kind of a group of people in the meetup group. Is that fair?
That's right.
All right. Did the group have a plan? I mean, were you the organizer of that meetup group that day?
No, I was not. I'd asked Kurt to take that over because I
Yeah.
planned on being gone that day.
Kurt,
And
did you do it?
Kirk organized that.
Okay.
You better
It
believe it.
sounds like obviously you
Oh, yeah.
weren't gone that day. You ended up being able to make it.
I came back a little early from wherever I was and just said, oh, I'm going to go ski today. And I happened to see on the list that day also was a lady that I had met when I first moved here, and she happened to be a ski instructor at Canyons, but she had been at Deer Valley as well. And so I called and said, Debbie, I'm going to go. I'll pick you up. So I picked her up at Kimball Junction on the way and went there with her and dropped her off the skis. And we met the group, and I asked her if it'd be okay if she let our group out because she's very familiar with Deer Valley. And so she said yes and gave us the rules of the road. Would you like to hear that?
So the meetup group, you guys kind of ski all together-ish?
Well, and this skiing meetup group is unusual. It's like herding cats. You've got those that just want to go and they kind of know who one another is. And so they go ahead and group up. And sometimes I wind up skiing with the beginners and getting them started, making them comfortable. And so they don't stay together well. We meet, usually we'll say, let's meet at Al's at 1:30. And so that's
David Buff.
Okay.
Come on.
So you mentioned we set forth the rules of the road for that day. What were the rules of the road that day?
Pressure
well, the only
fried.
rules of the road, we
How they
are
get
pretty
that
familiar with the
consistency on
rules
there.
of the road. So we don't go over that at the time. But Debbie just said, we're going to start down Bandana because that's how we'll get to the blacks are really good skiing. So our group knew that's where we're headed. And she said, whatever you do on Bandana, do not go down the middle of the run.
Why
It's
not?
packed and crowded with people. She said, go down the edges. She said, it'll be clear. And so when I came over the edge of the hill, there were heads bobbing in the middle. It was just compacted with little heads and big tall heads. And I just diagonaled. I went straight over to the right edge of that run.
And is that where you stayed prior to the collision?
I did. I stayed there the whole time because it was wide open.
So you were over to the right side to avoid the people. Did it have anything to do with your vision? There's been a lot of discussion about your right eye problem.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But skiing on the right side of the run, did that have anything to do with your right eye?
Yeah, maybe that's one of the things. Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about your vision in just a couple minutes, but I want to focus on the collision right now. Craig Ramone, he just testified.
Oh, yes.
You saw him. He also testified last week. How well did you know Craig at the time back February 2016?
He was one of maybe an average of 15 people, 10 or 15 people would come. So I shared his company during those times. And I knew him only as being an amazing skier, strong skier, and knew that. And I appreciated the fact he tended to like to follow the group and be behind as the protector because he brought a lady that was a person I knew that was his neighbor. So he would bring her up and ski behind her as a protector. So good guy.
Did you guys hang out a lot before this collision?
Too convenient.
Of course, at lunch, we spent time together. And there may be a couple of other occasions where we met with him, but usually there was somebody else there along with us.
Okay.
So I don't remember being exclusive with him.
All right. So, Terry, take the jury through what happened in this ski collision. Take it from, say, getting off of the lift.
Yes, happy to do that. It was really a very nice day for skiing, and I was really looking forward to it. And of course, Deer Valley has amazing groomed runs. Found that out right away. And I'm starting from when I get off.
When you got off of the ski lift.
Gotcha.
Oh, Lord.
So I was on a chair with probably 4 people. I think Joanne, Debbie, Craig, and there could have been another person besides myself. And we had already met and discussed going down the right side of that run, or going down the sides. And so I came over the top of the hill and saw that and headed for the right side, and I'll pick it up there. And everyone just kind of dispersed, some more to the right, more to the left. And I remember looking and seeing no one. And generally, beginner runs, people are afraid of the off-piste, of the off-groomers. And so they stay away from that area where the snow is piled up. And off-piste can be a rough ride. If you have to divert and you run out in there, some skiers can't make it through there easy. It's a lot of bumps. So I went right down the run and started just making nice soft turns and staying within that boundary. It could have been as much as 5 yards wide, but it might have been more like 5 or 6 feet. I can't imagine, I can't remember. Lots of room. And so I'm just skiing easy and paying attention, and all of a sudden in front of me is 2 big signs. I've never seen that big of slow down signs. It seemed like they were 4x8, like a 4x8 sheet of plywood size high with great big letters, slow down. I went, whoa. And I'm looking around and the crowd's about the same as me and speed-wise. And so
Did you pay attention to the sign?
I did. And I backed off of whatever I was doing. And then another big sign, like 10 feet away, the same 4x8 sheet up there, big letters. Well, they're serious. Must be lots of merging trails down here. So I just backed off. And again, the skiers were on my left. We're all about the same speed. And I could see down where the edge of the run went, it curved around, a tree line came out a little bit, and the run curled around, and I could see about half of the, I don't know if it was Montage or the Empire, could about half of that beautiful building. And
Yeah, Gwendolyn, I'm
it
with
was
you.
wide open.
Something
There
seems
was
very
nothing-
wrong about the way
nothing
he's
in front of me.
testifying. It does seem
And
prepped or
so
rehearsed.
I came around that corner, and
He's gone
it
over it
was-
many times. That's going to get tested.
takes
so
my breath
hard
away to think
during
this is
cross-examination.
hard because I don't like going through this scene. I just remember everything was great,
Yeah,
and then
I'm thinking
I
the same
heard
thing, too.
something I've never heard at a ski resort, and that was a blood-curdling scream. Just, I can't do it. It was, "Ah," and then, boom.
If you can't do it, don't do it.
And it was like somebody was out of control and going to hit a tree and was going to die. And that's what I had until I was hit.
That's what was going on in your mind.
Overruled.
That's what's going on in your mind when you hear that scream.
That was
But it's like-
oh my gosh, somebody's out of
Can
control.
you believe this guy?
And they're really seriously out of control. Not time for a hockey
Oh,
style. I
really?
didn't go think about that, but most people could avoid that, I think. Good skiers.
Okay. And I'll move on.
Okay.
So you
He's overruled.
thank you.
I want to know
So you hear this scream.
why that attorney is
Yes.
wearing a
What
mask.
happens next?
You know, I got hit in my
Doesn't
back
warm it at
so
all.
hard, and
Up to now.
I'm right at my shoulder blades, and it felt like, and was perfectly centered, and the fists and the poles were right there at the bottom of my shoulder blades. Serious smack. Never been hit that hard, and I'm flying. I'm absolutely flying.
Now, you're not airborne.
Well, all I saw was a whole lot of snow, and I didn't see the sky, but
Well,
I
how come
was
when you see
flying in that sense. I had no control. And I remember this thinking, okay, you really got to hang on. And then I thought about the crowd on the left, and I thought, I don't know who's wanted over there, and I do not want to get them mixed up in here. And I've heard, that maybe that's not decided about how my ribs really got hurt. I absolutely lurched what little I could off of my skis a little bit more to the right to make sure nobody over here got involved on my left side. And then it was like the ground's coming up, nobody in front of me, just me going to the ground, and you're falling far further than 90 degrees like you fall on the floor. You got that extra. And so it's quite a ways to hit the ground. And I just said, okay, you got to protect your face, and your head. And that's the last thing I remember. It didn't happen. I did glance over and saw just out of the corner of my eye, I could see, not glance over, but I could see somebody going by, and I'm going, okay, they're safe. Last thing I remember, everything's black.
Did the person who struck you land on top of you?
I wouldn't know that. I absolutely would not know that. I was just surprised. I had no upper body strength enough to be able to catch myself. I had no idea.
Do you remember hitting your head on the ground?
No, that part, no, that's all gone. I just remember my arms collapsing, and that's the last thing I remember.
What's the next thing you remember?
I'm getting an adrenaline rush here, I guess, living this again, just being here and present too.
Are you?
And let me just stop you really quick. You said you're getting an adrenaline rush. Is this something that you enjoy?
What?
Adrenaline rush? Not this
No.
kind. Not now.
Okay. All right. So what's the first thing that you remember?
The words and
Or the
body
next thing
language
that you
don't
remember
match.
after
Well,
you're
Yes.
on the ground?
The first remember is everything is still black, like I'm unconscious, but it's like my subconscious is going into protection mode. Like, you better pay attention here and listen to what's being said to you. And all I could recognize was that someone was really angry at me, and it was a man, and it didn't come
Where's
out
the
clear in
GoPro
the beginning.
video?
Couldn't
Where's the
really hear what
GoPro
he was
video?
saying, but I just knew he was mad, and he was right above me, right close to me. And I'm feeling a little afraid, and I tried to move, and I could not move a limb. I couldn't move my head.
Justin,
I couldn't move my body.
This is what I'm
Nothing
thinking.
was responding. Just this
On
message I was getting.
cross-examination, they're going to drill into this.
And the next thing,
He's more detailed now than he was
it
before. That's
became a little more clear.
like what happened with
And
Deputy
I
Burton.
heard him say, "Do you realize that you weren't skiing under the rules? You hit somebody.
I thought he said he
hurt
blacked out.
somebody." And it just insistent that I was the bad guy. And that's why I said, this has got to be a husband or boyfriend that's really mad at me. And I sound like a big,
Did you know who he was?
I had no idea. No idea. It
Okay.
was just a very angry person trying to bully me into believing something that I didn't think could happen, which I heard a woman's voice, right? Again, couldn't move. And about the third time he went through that, and it's getting louder, and I started to understand what he was saying, and he was really insistent that I was doing something wrong and hit somebody. And I remember in desperation, because I couldn't move anything, I couldn't fight. I couldn't fight. Who's going to try? And I tried moving something, and I could move my skis a little bit. I could just feel just below my knee. I could just slide my skis a little bit. And that's an important point. My skis are still on. They're still on. And I'm thinking, I got to placate this guy. He's really mad. If he decided he wanted to jump on me right now, he could finish me off. I remember saying, I'm sorry.
Okay, now you're
Twice.
you're whispering.
I
now,
know I am,
but
because
maybe-
that's what I heard. Nothing was coming out. My lips were moving. My tongue was moving. There was nothing coming out of my mouth, and my heart rate went up again. Okay.
It looked like what you were mouthing was, "I'm sorry.
I'm sorry." And I was just going, I can't believe it. I thought, try again. I'm sorry. Nothing was coming out. And to me, I heard nothing.
When you kind of mumbled, whispered, whatever you want to call it, "I'm sorry," was that you apologizing for causing the accident?
Of course not.
No, absolutely not. I was trying to placate this man in the only defensive manner that I could.
You've talked about the man who was yelling at you. Miss Paltrow last week admitted that she was kind of cussing you out as well. Do you remember any conversation that you had or anything that she said to you?
Absolutely not. There was one voice that my brain was focused on. Thank God, I guess. And that was self-protection, I guess. I only heard a male voice, a mad, angry male voice. I heard nothing. Maybe that happened before I came to that point in consciousness.
Were you still on the ground at this time?
That's
Still on the ground, absolutely, face down
Okay.
on
How
the ground.
did you end up getting up?
Well, that's a story too, but basically, I heard Craig saying, "Terry, are you okay?"
Now, this is Craig Ramone.
Well, at that point, I didn't identify his voice. I just things were a little strange yet, and I heard, "Terry, are you okay?" And about the third time it hit me, somebody is here to help me. I didn't at that point, except an angry man was there, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And I went through, and I looked up, and I could see Craig standing there above me, 8 or 10 feet. And on his immediate left, my right, was a man in an all green outfit and with a helmet on and ski goggles and, looked good. And I thought, oh, he's here to help me, right? He looks like he's from Deer Valley. And so I was going through the things, answering his question about, that were my thoughts. Now back to my injuries. Craig is saying, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh, my ribs are so sore. There's just this really deep throbbing purple pain here." And then I said, "My vision is swimming with sparks."
I've heard of
And
pain being
they
described as
were
purple.
unusual sparks. I'm going, is that my retina? Is that my eyes? And it wasn't a retinal detachment, a retinal hole or anything. And I'm going, that's my brain. I'm thinking, those sparks on my brain.
And all this time, you're still on the ground.
I'm actually, the next point is that after I tell him about my ears my ears are buzzing. Oh, and I said my brain is like it's on Novocaine. And then I realized, oh, I'm not seeing, I missed a spot. And that's where I looked up and couldn't see them and got frightened about that. And I realized going, oh my, what's going on? And then I went like this and happy I could see. So I missed that part. That happened before I started telling him what all is wrong with me, answering his question. And then Craig said to me, as I remember, of course, my brains are a little bit stretched out of place. And I remember him saying, "Do you know who you are?" And what I thought I said was, "Oh my gosh, I can feel this pathway in my brain. It's going around and trying to figure out who I am. And yes, I know I'm Terry." And then he said, "Do you know where you are?" And I said, "I know I'm skiing, but I don't know where I am." And that's when the man in green took off. I was kind of noticing that he really wasn't interested in what I had to say. He wasn't asking questions. He was standing there rather stoically, head not moving, goggles on, just resting on his poles and his skis, and was sort of disinterested. But when he skied off, my heart sank because I really thought he was the one person that was there to help me. And I'm laying on the ground with my head downhill, and I couldn't see where he went. So I was really.
Terry, how did you get up?
The question is how I got up, and that might have been the question in the beginning. But
That's right. How did you get up?
I realized that I was getting cold, and snow was packed in around me. I was starting to get a little shivery, maybe from a little shockish maybe, and I got to go. I got to get my skis downhill. And I started sliding my skis around and my legs around. I think Craig must have been shell-shocked about this guy leaving too. I don't know what he thought, but I remember getting my skis around, and it's so painful every time you have to contract your.
Terry.
Thank you.
How did you get up?
Thank you. That is one of my habits. I just focus. After I got halfway around, a man showed up in front of me, and I thought he came from the right. And I don't remember if he said one word to me. He just reached down and grabbed me and jerked me up on my feet, which I was not ready to be up on my feet. My head's swimming. I'm in pain, worried about falling down again and breaking a rib, puncturing a lung. He gets me up, and I'm on the edge of the run, so it's bumpy. It's hard to get my skis under me, and I'm stomping down the snow and trying to get them in a spot. Got my poles wedged in, and I think I've got it in stability, and he's gone. And this time I could see him. I could watch him go all the way down the hill. And I'm standing up, but am I feeling safe? No, people are going by, you know, and I'm thinking, man, I do not want to get hit again.
My understanding is that you and Craig tried to ski down a little ways, but then didn't quite make it too far. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he said, you think you can ski? And I'm thinking, the option is getting left up here, I will try anything. I got to get off of here. So yes, he said, follow me. And I did. And I don't know how I was skiing. I don't think I was edging. I think I was probably snow plowing. And he finally turned around and said, Terry, stop. You've forgotten how to ski. And of course, it was just, we were trapped. And he said, I got to find help.
Your Honor, there is some hearsay here. Stay.
Yeah. Like, did you forget how to ski?
Eventually,
Tell us.
Craig got help. Yes.
Yeah, he said, I got to find help. And so he disappeared, and I just put my head down and prayed that I wouldn't get smacked into it again. I felt pretty vulnerable. And he disappeared.
What happened when help arrived?
You know, Whitney showed up, and I was so grateful to see someone. And
Now, is that Whitney Smith?
Yes, that's her name. Mm-hmm.
And the jury is seeing pictures, and we're going to put another picture up in just a couple minutes. Is she the one in a red jacket that there's a picture of in this case? Do you know?
Yes, as a matter of, yes, that's her. Mm-hmm.
All right. So did she take you down on the toboggan, or how did you get down?
She did. She said, are you okay, kind of thing. And I don't know, not so good. I don't remember the conversation. It was a little easy stuff. And so got in, and I remember Whitney saying to me, now you got to remember these things because I'm going to ask you again later. And she told me that she was from Michigan, moved 5 years before, and had started on the ski patrol here 5 years before. She loved her job. Her name was Whitney, and that she had a horse named Titan that she wore in the years off. So she told me to remember those things. I'm going, this is a brain test. She's wanting to check if my brain's okay. And from that point on, I quit worrying about myself. I quit worrying about my injuries. It was just like, I'm going to remember this. I do
Coincides
not
with
have
Craig
no brain
Ramon's
injuries.
testimony about this, I think.
And I locked onto that.
You said something about that.
And nothing else. And later on, she did ask me, and I
When
can
Whitney
repeat it
took
back
him
to
down the
her
mountain.
exactly as she told me. And she won the women's downhill in the ski patrol women's competition.
Sounds like you still remember some of
I
these details.
was so determined to hang on to that fact, those facts. Yes.
All right. Once you got down, what type of medical attention did you receive? Still at the ski resort.
Yeah. Whitney is not a paramedic. She's not an EMT. I didn't really expect her to have advanced knowledge about neurological testing and triple testing and cranial nerve testing. She did a great job of doing exactly what she's supposed to do, just to be at that triage level to decide what kind of care I needed.
Okay, so what type of care did you get? What type of medical treatment did you get when you got down to the bottom?
No medical treatment.
Okay.
Am I missing something?
Did you get checked out at the Instacare or anybody?
After
Yes.
we left there. Yes. I asked Debbie, I said, where can I go and get checked and see what they say? And she said, well, let's stop at the Instacare. I know it's on the way. So I'd never been there before, but that's where we stopped and went in there.
All right. So you got checked out. When did you learn that it was Gwyneth Paltrow that you were in the collision with?
It was brought up, I think, the people that came in to the room to check on me that were part of my group, they check in and check out once, and which is what I tell them, go skiing, go enjoy yourself. And so it came up, and it probably was Craig who said, I heard him say it was Gwyneth Paltrow. And to me, it's like, I'm not into celebrity worship, so I didn't care at that point.
Did you think it was cool to collide with a celebrity?
Absolutely not. That is not who I am. No.
Did you ever write that? Ever tell anybody that?
I don't think it came out in those words, but I don't remember that. But I think I was trying to communicate to my kids, and the reason was because I got calls from friends that knew my kids that heard I got crushed at the ski resort, and so I thought I gotta let my kids know I'm okay. That was my main point. I don't want them to worry about me. I'm okay. And so I started it out, and May said, I'm famous or something.
Okay, we're going to pull that up. Could you pull up
Thank you.
Exhibit 111, please?
I don't find it credible. I
Yes,
can't.
Defense Exhibit 111.
It's too much detail to remember 7 years in.
We're going to call it
He
the I'm
remembers
famous email.
details more than any other witness has remembered details from the last 7 years. And he's the one that supposedly has a head injury. Also, he's communicating very well for someone who his daughters testified that like he can't properly have a conversation because he's clearly never listening to them. Clearly he's able to listen to the attorney here.
I'm not sure that he's lying. I think the issue might just be that he's manufactured a memory.
I think
Yeah, he's
I'm with you on that.
And so
Yeah, I don't
It's just that
necessarily
he's
think he's
unreliable.
lying either.
Sometimes old technology like the ammo works better
but
than the new
it feels
technology.
like it feels
doesn't it?
rehearsed. It just feels like a story that he's told himself over and over, and to the point that he believes it's true.
Yeah. Also, what was that aside just now? Like, was that like directed at
You're not going to plug it in?
Clark Kent because he made some kind of a comment about like I don't know how to use this older technology?
If it ain't Elmo, Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that he has been living this case for so long, for this entire duration of
All
time.
right. And Terry, you could
That
come
he has
down if you need to.
probably
Does it show on your screen there?
Yeah, but I'm not the B&I doctor. I'm not wearing fashion because I broke the pair of glasses I bought and couldn't find the old pair. So now
Okay. All right.
Yes,
So I
I
want to
see.
go through
I
this.
wouldn't say we're testimony. I'm
Defense
gonna
Exhibit
save this-
111.
I'm going to save this one for later.
Do you see, first of all, there are two posts. The first looks like on the bottom is the first at 8 o'clock p.m.
Yeah.
And then the response was at 9:32 p.m. Do you see that?
I do.
All right. The message reads, and I'm just tell me if I read it right, from you to Jenny, Polly, and Shay. Those are your three daughters?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And the subject said, I'm famous. Do you see that?
I do.
Why did you write, I'm famous?
Again, my head was scrambled. All I was trying to do is desperately communicate with my kids before they heard from somebody else I got crushed. So I didn't pick my words well, not at all how I felt. And I really was trying to add a little levity to a serious situation, and it backfired. Little did I know that this is where to be.
So you write, I'm famous, and then here's what happened from my friend and eyewitness, and then there's the link.
The link.
The link. We now know what the link shows.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were going to the GoPro. I'll withdraw my comment.
I'm just talking about the link.
Yes.
Okay. So we now know what the link is,
Yes.
correct? The link is it's a really bad picture. You'll get a clear picture. It's the picture of Whitney Smith.
Oh,
Oh, it's right there.
that picture obviously shows so many things.
It's that. And then that leads to later comments back and forth between you and Craig.
Yes.
Wow. That really helps fix the case right up.
in that, under that picture,
There's still that
can you
reference
read
to
what
a
it
GoPro,
says?
though.
Yes. Whitney kept me entertained while probing me.
You want to speak in the mic?
Oh, yes. Whitney kept me entertained while probing me with questions to evaluate my senses. A dedicated outdoor person and horse lover from Michigan. She also took me down in the toboggan by herself and won the DV Women's Downhill Race Contest. Sweetheart. I was grateful for her.
Are those the things? First of all, did you write that under her picture?
You know, I don't know what time it was added. Carlene was hurrying back from St. George. And depending, I don't know, she helped me a lot verbalize things because things weren't making sense at all in
All right.
communication. And she may have helped and participated in that. I don't know.
Those details, are those the details that Whitney wanted you to memorize as you were taking down the toboggan? All right. Can you
Those tears could be
go
sincere.
back up to the emails?
They could be. I don't know.
All right. So you send that out to your 3 daughters.
I did, yes.
Okay. And Shay, who testified last week, she responded to you with the top post, correct?
Yes.
All right. Can you read what it says?
I can.
Actually, let's put the subject, read what the subject says.
It says, I'm famous at what cost, question mark.
Do you know why Shay wrote that?
Well,
Do you know?
I think
No,
She may
you
have
don't.
called me.
You just said, I think.
she?
So you don't know.
right after
Now,
this.
do you?
And,
Shut up.
and so,
Speculation.
right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I'm pretty certain that she checked in on me and made a phone call. And
Do you remember what you told her during the phone call?
yeah, I had a chance to talk about my symptoms exactly, I think. And that I said, you know, as many people that were on that slope that day, maybe a couple hundred within that vicinity, there has to be a GoPro picture or video. If it's a helmet mount, they're going to look over just like Craig did, right? And they're going to go catch it. They hear a holler, they're going to catch it. I'm going, I just know there's one out there. We got to find that. That is the evidence we need. And so
Terry,
she misinterpreted.
did you have a GoPro?
Absolutely. I do
Then
have
why
one,
didn't he
yes, but
correct
I
her
did not have it
response?
on that day.
Do you know of anybody in your ski group that had a GoPro?
No,
Have you ever seen a GoPro video of this accident?
absolutely not. No, I would have loved to have it. It was what we needed.
Then why didn't you correct her statement in that email?
Okay.
That's what I want to know.
Take that off. Thank you. Let's talk about your injuries. What injuries, to your understanding, did you sustain in this collision?
At this point,
Right now?
Right now.
What your understanding as to what
What
happened to
happened?
Terry in this collision?
at this point, I know that I had at least 4 broken ribs. I sustained a concussion, and that's the 2 main factors, I think. And then later on, had some right leg and still do right leg and anomalies, movement. It just has its own idea and thinking where it needs to be, opposed to what I'm thinking.
Let's talk about how your ribs, how your brain injury, how that has affected you. Okay. Have things in your life changed?
I'm like living another life now.
And let's focus on, we'll kind of go step by step, different things. Physical wise, how have you changed physically since the accident?
Well, I can't ski anymore. I was told that if I did and had another crash, that I could wind up full-time in a nursing home. The odds of that's very high.
So no
And-
more skiing.
Well, and I tried I tried not to go back, and I did ski a few more times by myself just to see if I still could. I had this ungodly looking fluorescent red outfit I bought, a MIPS helmet to protect my brain better. And I thought, I can do this. This is my love and joy. I meet friends, I make friends, I stay with them the whole year. It's a year-round activity, and it's a lifelong.
Skiing is
activity.
year-round?
And so I tried, and
I mean,
I felt like I was skiing through landmines. Just ridiculous. Looked ridiculous, all bright fluorescent
places
red.
have-
Wasn't thinking very
I've
well.
seen snow in June and July.
And then I'd
on
have to stop
places
every
like
30
Mount
yards
Whitney.
and look back behind me to make sure no one was right behind me. Saw a reaction. And gradually gave it out just 3 or 4 times, and I think I was done.
Okay. Before we go into more activities, what about physically? Do you have pains, aches, pains, problems? Your physical being, how are you?
I'm a much more careful person. I don't take any risks and more brain damage. And I'm not sure I understand your question exactly.
Have you had any kinds of balance issues or headaches?
Of course, initially, that was just my life was living in an orange chair, sitting there initially, and sleep for 12 hours, and then sit for half an hour and tell Carlene I gotta go back to bed.
But to be fair, it's not like that anymore.
No, it's not. No, I had no anymore. No, it's not.
Let's talk about mentally. How have you seen yourself change mentally? What are some things that you've noticed or difficulties that you've had mentally?
Many things I don't have the words or the intelligence to training to explain.
You have lots of words.
I do.
Yes, you
I
do.
admit. It's just, this has been a bizarre part of this process, is I never feel like I've explained enough. It's like big gaps. I got to start from the beginning, and everyone may recognize that by going through and building a case, and they don't know what I'm talking about until I get to the subject. So everything is backwards. I'm building from the little things and then saying, oh, I'm talking about apples. They're going, I had no idea. Upside down and backwards. Communication just feels like I can't connect. And so I keep trying, desperately trying. And personality changes is not something I just know it's different. Things are weird.
You ever get lost?
Oh my gosh, that was among the first signs when I tried to get out and work on the green team. And
Wait, whoa, what's the green team? What are you talking about?
I volunteer for lots of groups, probably a couple hundred hours a year at least, I would think. And green team is one of those that's significant, a large group of heavy lifters who pick up plastic and aluminum recycle after concerts. And USANA was the main one, even though we've done Liberty Park. And it's a group of maybe 15 people. And we stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning picking that up. And recycled the last year I worked in 2015, 23 tons. And it's not just walking, 16,000 steps on what I saw. And it's bending and stooping and lifting and picking up and dragging a bag. And it's hard work, but really, really bonding with a lot of people and doing that. So that's what that is.
You were doing this
So
after
I
your
tried
accident?
going up there. And usually I carpool, and that day I didn't. Usually the driver. And so I parked and went and did our thing, and it's maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock, and went back to the car and headed home. I'm going the wrong direction. I'm going, what's going on? I've done
This is after.
dozens of
Okay,
times.
well, no. Wait a second. This is after your accident,
Now, just to
and you're
clarify, this is
volunteering for this
since
team, which involves lifting
Oh,
heavy
yes.
things
And
and
my
climbing many,
instincts are
many
always going where
stairs.
north is. It's really been good having
And you're
grown up
able
in
to
the
do
mountains.
that.
It just was instinctual.
Yeah.
At night, I had no instincts anymore anyway. And so I headed just instinctually where I thought I was supposed to be and wound up north or south or somewhere else. And that happened a second time.
Had that ever happened to you before this ski collision?
I've never been so needing maps. And so I'm pretty sure I've lost visual memory because it doesn't, knowing those turns and the houses where you turn, the streets you turn at, that feels like, and I know a little bit about that, that feels like a deficit I have. That doesn't, I don't retain that anymore. I can be there a dozen times and I still have to use maps to make sure I get there. Really odd.
What about emotional, Terry? How are your relationships with your family and friends since the ski accident?
You know, my interaction with my family has been more difficult. And I think of course, I'm desperately to be close to my family and my girls, but something's wrong in my essence and what I bring to the table with them. And communication is not as smooth, and it's been more difficult, no question. And they've told me they've noticed some changes. Yeah.
Now, I didn't know you before. Jury didn't know you before. What kind of relationships did you have with your girls before this crash?
My goals are always angels. I'm their protector. Some things happened to them. I'm testifying that I heard about it. It hurts to see them in that place as their protector. I rode home with them and started sobbing, so I get caught up in that.
Do you love your girls?
Oh my gosh.
There's been some discussion about your relationship with Jenny and that it's not always optimal. From your perspective, what is your relationship like with Jenny? And how has it been even before this
That's a
accident?
medical diagnosis.
Yeah,
From your
Jenny
as well.
and I probably don't communicate as well as I do with my other two daughters. Not probably, definitely we don't. We just have a hard time in that process, and I will not give up. I try to push to keep those lines open, but there's been times when there's been long breaches in our conversation. And yeah, I feel like her protector more than anybody does. So it's been harder for me to transition from being a parent to being an adult, an equal adult. I just feel
Do you
like I
love
need
your
to even
kids?
be more on
Tell
her
us how
behalf.
much you love your kids. Are they the
It's been
greatest
Well, the answer is
kids?
always going to be.
Do
The
they
talk
answer
love
is
about
always
you?
going to be. Of course, I do.
We heard her testify last week. She's a catch. Why'd you let her go?
What?
In my choice, I wouldn't have, but I had to, after 8 months, I had to tell her to leave. I said, I'm not asking her, I'm telling you, you got to leave. And
It wasn't my
tell her to
choice.
leave?
I told her to leave. What?
I knew she didn't buy into this. She didn't buy in to me not being the same person and coming into a relationship. And I said, I'm not sure I'm going to get back to normal again. And I don't want you to feel like that I'm a crippled vet and you're going to stick it out with me, because I know you would. Half a brain or whatever. I know you would, but don't do it. You need your life. You run right now.
What?
And it was a sad time for both of us, I know. And she's in a great relationship
feel
with Bill now.
Emotions are
And that was the
sincere.
purpose. And I
The
think
reasoning
better than what I would have brought.
was maybe not
honestly.
what it actually
It's
was.
hard to admit that, but it's true.
Council, we just need a good place to take a break.
Sure.
This is
Okay,
his
we'll take a
wife
short
at the time
recess.
that he's talking about?
So, okay. So here's the thing about his testimony, and this is
Why don't you
another
stand
reason.
now and then you're welcome to step down during the break.
This is another reason why it's a bad idea for him to not be in the courtroom until the witness just previous to him. Well, I guess two witnesses previous to him, because
Counsel,
they
would you
brought up
approach the bench,
Ramon
please?
again. So, but here's the thing about it: the jury during trial is going to be watching both parties. I mean, just the same way that they evaluate any other witness. But they're going to be
Yeah.
watching them throughout the trial to see how they react to things and see how they respond to things. And so because of the fact that he's been gone until more than halfway through day 4, there's just less data for them to pull from. So they're going to be pulling from his testimony here more heavily, I think, than otherwise. Hey, Nate, how's it going?
Hey, my people, what's going on, guys?
Good to have you here.
I'm watching a very
Good to have you here.
confusing plaintiff direct, and it's very strange because he's saying things that don't make sense to me. For example, after the accident, I was part of this green team, and as part of this green team, we go to concerts and venues and recycle aluminum. We lift many heavy weights, and it's just not lifting of weights, it's the climbing of the stairs. We climb many stairs. I'm like, what?
I don't
So
Okay.
physically, he seems fine.
So what are they talking about? What's this? It's an objection?
No,
I
they're
don't
taking
know
a
what's
break.
happening right now.
He just got a little bit emotional on the stand because he was talking about the end of his last, well, not his last relationship, because he had another girlfriend after her, but like basically like why he said to leave, which that's going to come up on cross-examination. I think they're going to ask about that relationship that was after Carlene Davidson, to be like, look, like you just gave this whole like speech about how you were like, no, live your life. Like I shouldn't be holding you back or whatever. But he's willing to have this other woman hold him back or hold back this other woman like after her. Right. Like, what about her? I don't understand. So, gosh, yeah, it's just, I'm
It wasn't
not,
my
there's a
decision.
lot
I
in this
told her,
testimony.
I told her, I didn't ask her to leave. I'm like, well, that's your decision.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I mean, and here's the thing. I don't doubt that he probably has some kind of head injury that he suffered from. And what he probably is suffering from something right now. The question is it neurological? Is it psychological? Is it just because he is like choosing to not let this incident go, right? Is he just obsessed with this trial? Is he obsessed with Gwyneth Paltrow because of like the things that happened in his life afterwards? Or is it actually neurological? And so I think some of the things that he's like his emotional like fluctuations on the stand, I'm willing to look at it and say like there could be something that's just, like he's got something that's he's not functioning fully because of the fact that he's got a brain injury. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm still not convinced that they have enough evidence here to show that Gwyneth Paltrow was the one who plowed into him. And that's the thing. Muddy middle goes to the defendant.
Yeah. Well, the defendant wants a tie, right? Because the plaintiff has to prove their case.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Nate, have you been watching this case?
I don't want to rule for either one of them. Just like, I don't believe either of your cases. Go away.
Then the defendant wins. If you don't believe,
Well, they're
either one,
countersuing. She's countersuing for $1 too. It's like, I'm not going to rule for you either. You both lose.
They both lose. Well,
But she is. I mean, she's suing for $1 in compensatory damages and then for attorney's fees. So like even if neither of them win, she wins. Realistically, like she just doesn't get her attorney's fees paid for, but she technically wins. I don't know. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I hope she's not paying very much for her attorney's fees because her attorneys suck.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot in this.
It makes me feel like I'm underbilling.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens on cross-examination. I'm very curious to see who cross-examines him. I have a feeling it's going to be Owens because he's been kind of the lead on all of the bigger witnesses. But I hope it's James Egan, the Clark Kent guy, because I just feel like he's a better cross-examiner. Like his Owens's cross-examination of Gwyneth Paltrow was like completely ineffective. I feel like he missed out on so many opportunities to try to bolster her testimony. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And he also turn his opening statement into a closing argument, as we all know.
One does.
So, but it is Owens's firm. He's like I think he's like the prince. I'm pretty sure it's like the Owens firm, like that. I think that's the name of it, if I remember correctly. So he's definitely going to be calling the shots here. But so I don't know. Did you guys see the Gwyneth Paltrow's testimony on Friday?
No, I haven't watched. To be honest with you, I've watched almost none of this trial. I just came in because I was like, this looks interesting, but it seems to me this is rich people problems, right? I'm at a ski resort, and somebody bumped into me, $1 million or whatever. So
it is a little bit. It is a little bit of rich people problems, because this is the very typical civil case, except for the fact that it's going to trial. And so, So Gwyneth Paltrow's testimony, I thought to be pretty credible. She does have some weird facial expressions that she was pulling on there, because I don't know what was going through her head, but she did have some strange sort of facial expressions that kind of looked like that could come across not very well with the jury. Like she was looking almost like condescendingly. I don't know. But one of the things that I think when we're talking about Hollywood people, I feel like you just, if they're testifying, you have to talk about it. It's the elephant in the room, because everybody knows that it's there. There probably is some amount of bias against her, even even if like the jurors can set that aside, like everyone knows who Gwyneth Paltrow is. So I feel like in these kinds of trials, you kind of have to talk about her being a celebrity, and especially in a case like this, where it's literally like her world colliding with the world of someone else. It's like you kind of have to talk about how she deals with weirdness a lot when it comes to like the general public. Like she's had to testify against an alleged stalker. She is one of the Weinstein victims. Like she's kind of gone through some things herself. And so like when they were doing her direct, now she was called as a plaintiff's witness. So of course she was called as a hostile witness. So the direct was done by the plaintiff's attorney. But there was this question about like her thinking for a split second when the guy crashed into her, according to her recollection or her testimony, that she said that for a moment she was like, I thought for a moment that maybe I was being sexually assaulted. And like there was kind of this like lack of credulity in response to that. And I was like, though, like if I'm Gwyneth Paltrow, or if I'm any kind of like Hollywood celebrity that kind of gets recognized by people, I would imagine that I would deal at some point with somebody being weird in different kind of ways, because they just want their brush with fame, or they want a story. They want, they want to be able to like go back to the Thanksgiving dinner table and be like, oh, remember that one time that I took advantage of the fact that I recognized Gwyneth Paltrow up on the slopes. Like, I don't know. I feel like those kind of like encounters totally could happen. And given the fact that she actually has been assaulted by Weinstein, allegedly, apparently, I don't know for a fact.
I don't think Weinstein's going to sue you for saying that he assaulted her.
He has bigger problems.
Yeah. Like his 5 life sentences, right? Get legal bites for saying that I'm doing these things to women.
I know.
My name.
But I always
feel
like I need to say it. I'm like, I don't have any personal knowledge.
Listen, he has no reputation to save, right? Weinstein has assaulted.
Yeah,
many
he's
people, right?
he's defamation proof at this point. He literally cannot be defamed. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough for Weinstein.
And that could also, like, by talking about her experiences, like some of the weirdness that she's encountered in the past, that could explain not only that, but also her reaction after the collision. Like there's the plaintiff side is rightfully so trying to pull up her reaction afterwards that was like she's screaming expletives at him, like using the F-bomb, like all kinds of stuff. Basically, like she was very upset. And you know, on the one hand, you can say like, wow, this is somebody who's very uppity. She's a diva. She's whatever. But if you contextualize it with some of the experiences that she's had in the past, and the fact that she probably is thinking, I just want to have a ski trip, a vacation with my family. I'm entitled to some amount of privacy and normalcy, like just any other, like what any other human being would want. Having grown up in the fishbowl of Hollywood, by the way, because she's like her mom's Blythe Danner, her dad was a Hollywood producer and director. Like she grew up in Hollywood. She grew up in the, like, so
She knows the game.
I don't know.
Yeah. In other words, you're saying she knows the game. She knows what's up.
Well, yeah, but also she's never really had that normal of a life, probably, and she probably wants some amount of privacy. So I don't know. I feel like there are so many things that could have sort of contextualized her response better in her cross-examination, like by her own attorney. A lot of missed opportunities, in my opinion.
Well, you know, it's difficult though when you're in the fight. Versus, you know, you're suing for like $100 million in one of those cases.
It's there's a question of
no, they sued for $3 million, and then
or
didn't they get 300,000?
I'm not sure, because in the opening, and this is a point of confusion for me also, because in the opening statement, his attorney doing the opening statement at the very end was like, this is valued. You're going to find out by the end of this trial that this incident was valued at $3.2 million.
Move to publish the deposition and then bring up on this the highlighted sentence and answer, because it's really slowed things down. And
Sandra Ramirez,
from my
thanks so much for the
deposition
super
with
chat.
Mr. Sanderson,
So happy you're able to fix the
I
internet
suspect there's
issue.
going to
Thank
be
you
that
so
kind
much.
of
I know that was a
slowness,
nightmare.
too, and I'd rather just bring it up.
Any issues with that?
Yes, Your Honor, we don't think it's proper. We'd rather do it the normal way, which is they read the deposition.
And thank you for the super
They
chat
don't
again,
show it.
Sandra Ramirez.
I
So nice to have all three of you streaming a
because
trial
this is a
together again. I
party,
missed this. Yeah.
And under Rule 32, it can be used
Yeah.
for any
Good to
purpose.
have you guys
I
here.
thought you meant for the other witnesses.
And as long as,
You know, the section that you're using for impeachment, Mr. Owens, is the only section that's appearing up there.
Okay, that's a James issue. We'll do it.
All right, yes, we're okay with that. I thought he was talking about some of the other witnesses that we're preparing. You see, last night we thought we'd find out if Carrie Oakes was going to be offered.
We could
Should-
bring in the jury.
Pardon?
We could bring in the jury.
Okay,
Let's
call them in.
get moving.
Bring in the jury.
Yes, you did.
Copies of
Does
the
the jury get paid in
depositions.
goop?
There were actually, it was 3 sittings.
Is that how that
and
works?
Can we go put them up there,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, and give you a
Yeah,
copy?
I don't know why
Yes.
he's wearing a mask, by the way. I
This
suspect
is
that he
Pete.
probably
Yes.
is having some kind of symptoms from over the weekend, maybe.
These
The
are
other
for
attorney,
court.
Sykes, was coughing for the last, like, however many days last week. So maybe he picked something up. I don't know. Nicole Christine, thanks so much for the $10 super chat. Says I second Sanders super chat. I loved seeing all of
If
you
you're
discussing a
putting it
trial
up on
together
the
again. It
screen,
feels like the
I
good
mean,
old
for the
days during the
witness, they may
Debbie
not
heard
need
when
to
I first
actually
found
do
lawsuit.
this.
Oh,
That may save you
yay.
some time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, this is great.
But put them there.
Great.
Just
I love
in
having
case
you
the
guys pop
witness
in like
needs
this. Grant McRoberts, thank you so much for the super chat. Is this the courtroom the Depp trial was in? No, this is in Utah. That was in Virginia. That'd be funny though.
That would be funny.
So I mess with my color balance to make sure I look all perfect.
I'm doing thumbnails while I'm talking to you guys.
Nice, nice, nice.
Oh, the judge.
The advantages of a color shifting bulb.
I like this judge. He doesn't attract a lot of attention, which is exactly what you want in a judge, because it means that he's just there making sure that the wheels are turning and he's not influencing things in an improper way. That's at least my
Ms. Van
impression
Orman?
so far.
Thank you.
right. Back on direct.
We've had trouble with that chair.
Oh,
It wasn't you who broke it.
I've got one side higher and the other bit out.
That's what it does. I don't.
Oh, yeah, that's the lean inside.
But everything else functions well on it.
Ellen, not Sarah Lee. Thank you so much for the super chat. So happy to have you back, Alita. Great to see Nate and Kurt.
Yeah, we're glad to have
Yeah,
Alita back.
thank
She was
you.
gone for a while. We missed
Tell you
her.
what, just leave it. We'll
know.
work around it.
I know.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to some of the things that you've noticed. We've heard from others, but I want to hear from you.
Yes.
Have you had any type of anger issues since the collision
Yes, of course. And I never had them
that,
before.
that you've noticed?
There's no question I have a much wider range of, temperament than I had before. Much wider.
What about your social life? Do you before the ski accident? What kind of things did you do?
You know, I look back in the last couple of years. In fact, I did that. And I just realized I was in the groove of my life at that stage. I had a lady in my life that I dearly loved.
Prime of his
And,
life.
we
Yep.
just did everything together and spent, I believe it was 2 years together, and had cleaned up our lives and physically great shape. Both of us like to hike and walk and travel, and really were enjoying our lives. And we spent some time in St. George where she's located, and I spent some time here. It was wonderful. We cleaned up the businesses of homes and combining homes and parents' homes, and we had, she, as I hope everybody noticed, she is an amazing woman, and so I had a great deal of connection with her.
And so since the ski accident,
Yes.
do you still go and do fun things and have that zest for life?
I've been self-imposed 90% staying in the house. A recluse, self-imposed
Self-imposed.
recluse.
That's not a good answer.
Self-imposed.
Not
Yeah,
feeling
that
as
was
fun.
got the right
Not
words.
feeling as engaged in other things, don't have that same spark I had,
That's not a good answer.
and don't feel the same about
No.
when I go to places.
You still travel though.
You
That
know,
means
I
he's
have
choosing.
traveled because,
What? Let's talk about travel for a minute.
yes,
Before the ski collision, did you do a lot of travel?
a lot of travel. It happened to be something that Carlene liked to do, and so we traveled a lot. Went on the only cruise that I was ever on before the crash, and yes, we had more plans.
Did you ever travel alone before the ski accident?
I did travel alone in a few places. Yes.
Okay. What about since the ski collision? Have you still traveled?
I have traveled, and as part of the problem, just easily confused about things. So I usually request having somebody else along. Also, because of this funny aberrant foot thing, wanting to go its own way, I don't feel as safe. And then also, things would happen. Like I put the wrong name, get their name spelled wrong, and important flight tickets and the birth date, which I should know. So it was difficult, and I really wanted someone to go with me. I didn't feel as secure traveling alone.
Have you traveled alone since the ski accident?
I have not. I had one time when one friend.
I have not.
actually
I have
two,
one
but I had
time.
one friend when we
It wasn't my
planned a trip
decision.
to
I
Europe.
required her to
A
leave.
physician's assistant and my yoga instructor, and she.
By the way, MZ, thank you so
decided
much for
right before the
gifting
trip,
5 Legal Bites
Terry,
memberships. And to everybody that's
I
not
don't
part of my
like you
club,
anymore. I
welcome.
don't know what's different. You're a different person. I don't like you anymore. And
How-
canceled her.
How'd that make you feel?
It's like,
Sandra McButton,
oh my
this is the
gosh,
crux
I've known
of the
her
issue.
as long, and one other one as well, as long as
Is it a
I've
natural
lived here.
progression or
5 years, I'm guessing.
is it the
at that
accident?
time. And it's like personality, like that's something that develops from the time you're a child. What do you do?
You're telling me
about
these things
personality
can happen
issue?
from getting old?
Something's changed.
No one warned me.
I don't know, more aggressive. And you know what? That lady will not answer her phone or texts. And I have.
Well, we're not going to say her name on
No,
this being
we are
broadcast,
not.
so
We
we're
are
not gonna
not.
we're not going to.
She's a lovely lady. Yes, she is.
Have your other friendships been affected as well?
Yes, another lady that I knew for quite some time, a sweetheart, also a woman. We just got off kilter a little bit. Well, after I told Carlene she had to run, it was a few weeks later, I couldn't realize how lonely I was. Yes, I should have taken more time to absorb that, but I was so lonely because we were together all the time. So I reached out to her, and we spent a couple of activities together, and I couldn't believe the words that came out of her mouth. She said, Terry.
It is hearsay, so you can't testify as to what she said. But how did it make you feel?
Well,
Cameron F., you're right. And that's why there's the eggshell
made
skull
me feel
concept
like, what's
too.
wrong with me? And
You're
how do I
absolutely
fix
right
my
about that.
personality? How do I fix it? I'm a different person. It's a very complex issue. And I lose self-confidence. The person I am, I'm going, what happened?
Terry, are you trying to improve yourself?
I've been in denial. I've been in denial about my issue. I refuse to believe I have brain issues. I've just done everything I can. I knew I had a critical window to restore stuff, and I did everything I was told and everything I could find out about trying to get those neurons reconfigured in a good way. And I haven't found it's helped. So I'm still in denial. I keep thinking there's got to be something.
Are you trying to improve yourself?
Yes, I don't want to have brain issues. I'm trying to prove I don't. But everything I do, I'm trying to prove
even
I
he
don't
doubts
have that wrong.
It's due to.
There's been a lot of discussions about how Terry was before this ski collision. And could you put up Defense Exhibit 23, please? And I'm actually going to move forward the admission of the entire Defense Exhibit 23. I'm assuming there's no objection.
Does any of this need to be redacted?
So, let me just state that my understanding was that Ms. Van Orman was going to be done at 11.
I'm
And then it
almost done.
changed.
Right now, she's moving for Defense Exhibit 23. Any objection?
No.
Okay, so it's received.
Yeah, that's petty. I thought she was going to be done at 11. That's petty. What are you talking
At
about?
least some parts of it maybe need that, but it looks like we're not.
There's
showing
been a lot
those.
of pettiness on both sides.
Showing his address, for instance.
Like they both have been like standing up in the middle of each other's direct examinations or cross examinations.
At the
like,
bottom of
you're
that,
taking too long.
do you have that exhibit in front of you?
I think I do, yes. Yes, I think I do.
All right.
This is where you wonder if the jury could award themselves compensation. That'd be good. We award ourselves $100,000 for to sit through this.
There's the address there. Yep, thank you.
Wait, what?
Do you see where it says chief complaint down at the bottom?
Yes, I do. Yes,
It says regular visit.
yes.
Was this a regular visit that you were attending with your provider?
It could be. I don't
Was the
know. I
wrong
usually
answer.
saw her once a year or once every 6 months. So if
I
that's
can
what
tell
it
from the
says, I
tone
believe
that was the
it's-
wrong answer.
And just for reference, Terry, I know you weren't here, but this is the I'm getting old exhibit, the I'm getting old visit. Could you go to
Remind the
next
jury
page,
more
please?
about how he hasn't been here during this entire trial.
Yeah.
Defense 23. All of Defense 23.
I have nothing in front of me now.
It's coming. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right, so this is the second page of that exhibit. Talks about 69-year-old male with HTN, HLD. We're not going to go through all of those
Yeah,
things, okay?
Thank you.
Just got over a URI. Do you know what a URI is?
I do.
Urinary tract
What is it?
infection.
Upper respiratory infection.
So you just got over that yesterday, you think, at least according to this record. No cough, just runny nose, and upper respiratory symptoms. This is going to be his test for the cough, had not had a persistent cough, etc. Weight gain, thinks eating out too much. Were you eating out too much?
Yes. Carlene and I chose to eat out instead of cook.
Okay. And not getting enough exercise.
Yes.
Thinks you've gotten old all of a sudden. Terry, what does that mean? Did you tell your doctor that?
You know, I relate it to the URI. If someone who's just gotten over a viral or bacterial infection, either one, over 2 weeks with a cough and just feeling worn out, I wouldn't doubt I wouldn't say something like that.
And in fact, it says, does not think depressed, mood is good, just not doing the things you used to, but also thinks you're going to start skiing again and reinstate your gym membership. Did you have a plan?
Yes, I absolutely did have a plan.
All right. And so that's all I need for that.
Yeah, there is a bit of leading here.
Talk about planning,
So-
and I meant to ask you about this
Leading.
before we move on.
Might as well let him lead. It doesn't matter.
Do you know what executive functioning means?
Yes, I'm familiar with that term actually from before.
What's your understanding of what it means?
It's the ability to coordinate your actions through your life, to be able to put things together, make decisions about them, get things done, and be efficient and effective, and be able to multitask and be effective, be
And-
efficient and effective.
Your Honor, can we approach? Sure.
Trying to move along.
Enough with the side commentary. It's just, it doesn't come across well. She just sounds petty every time she does that. And I know she's not the only one that's been doing it. Everyone's been doing it since the very beginning, both sides. But I mean, it's so distasteful to see it. Man, oh man. So yeah. Nate, what do you think?
No, it just seems like they are trying to make more out of it than what it really is, if you know what I mean. It's like, yeah, he got hurt, but he's like, now he's lost relationships. No, it's all BS. Anybody who's lived a real life on that jury is not going to buy this. I don't know how many people in the chat are buying it. I'm looking at people in the chat, but I don't think anybody is convinced. Like right now, I'm not giving him any money. I don't think he has any injuries. I think he's just playing it out.
No. He's talked about how his physical body is well enough to walk a lot of steps and carry some heavy things. His conversation with the attorney here has been pretty lucid and pretty flowing, so it's like communication skills. Like maybe some focus issues.
So Terry, you were
with
talking
ADHD
about
on that
executive functioning. You
jury's
kind
gonna
of gave
be like, whatever.
what that means to you. It looked like to me from Exhibit 23, you were able to make a plan in your life and kind of follow through with that. Have you been able to do that since the ski accident?
The examples of not being able to do that are one of my collections I keep track of all the things I want to do and can't do. And there's thousands. There's at least 12, I guess I should say 1,200 or 1,500 items on my to-do list. I look back to 2016, it repeats every day, whatever changes I make. I look back to 2016 and there were half a dozen back there, which is Stephen Covey's rule, right? That's what you get done. You mark them as priorities and get them done. It's just now continuous stuff I don't get done.
How do we
And
know
I
if
can't
it's
tackle
natural
because I
progression
can't
or
figure it
not?
out. It's just goofy. The things that I could do, I was really handy. My dad was a handyman. And I learned and I have the tools. I have an example.
You know what? I would love to hear the example, but I have made a promise.
Go for
so
it.
I want to shift gears.
Let's do it.
At some point, after the ski accident, some time passed and there was a press conference that was held. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't involved in that. I wasn't even your lawyer at the time.
Wasn't my fault.
Was the press conference your idea?
Absolutely not.
Do you know why the press conference was held?
Your Honor, that's. Is he waiving his attorney-client privilege? Because if he is, I'm gonna drive a bus through that.
What's the objection, counsel?
He just violated his own attorney-client privilege, whose idea
That's
was.
true.
Objections overruled as to relevance.
Well,
What
that's
is
not really.
your understanding
Do you-
as to
you didn't
why a
object
press
it's irrelevant?
conference was held?
We understood and we agreed how important it would be.
And hold on. I don't want you
Okay,
to
go
discuss,
ahead.
talk about anything that you talked about with your counsel.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you have an understanding
Did.
why a press conference was held?
Yes. I knew that it was very important to have a video of that particular activity. It would just be convincing and would settle this beyond all doubt.
Like a GoPro.
Exactly like a GoPro. But all the other cameras up there had to be somebody. And that's what I knew. In fact, I even looked recently and put up a notice at Deer Valley if anybody had a copy.
After that press
7
conference,
years
did
ago?
any GoPro videos surface?
No, none.
Have they ever?
No, never.
Terry, did you cause the ski collision with Mrs. Paltrow?
Absolutely not. I swear to my God and my family and my other Father in heaven, it's like, no,
Uh-huh.
I did not.
Why did you bring this lawsuit?
Your Honor, but can we move to strike like religious oaths here?
Sustained.
Why did you bring
The jury
this?
should
I
disregard
swear
the
to
last
God.
part of the last response.
Why did you bring this
I
lawsuit?
like the religious oath.
You know, I realized after a period of time that no one believed how serious my injuries were. Just because I wasn't out and interacting continuously didn't mean there was something any wrong with me. I really, really wanted an opportunity. I knew there was damages, and then there was lots of insults added to that singular incident. Lots of insults along the way, dozen of other times where everything went contrary to my value system. And I just went, you know what? My daddy would say, if you got the truth, you bring the truth. Don't let anybody back you down. And that's what I felt I needed to do. And I'm here to prove that truth
What my
Only
daddy
the-
said.
with facts.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm sold.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Norman.
Lord.
Mr. Owens?
Here we go.
Oy. Oh God, it's Owens.
So I caught a cold.
All
So
right,
I'm kind of keeping my distance.
hold it.
See, where's that little microphone that moves?
He's got something.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
He's got something he wants to. He's got some good stuff. You could tell because he jumped
Yeah.
right up like his seat was on fire. Let me hurry up and get this guy.
Yeah. No. They've teased it through other witnesses so far. A number of things that
Sorry,
are.
I'm going to be wiping my nose a little
He's taking the mask off. He's got something. Whatever he's got, he's about to
with
blow
this
it up.
climate and dry air.
Let's see.
I might
Let's see if he
have a
can stick
bloody
the landing
nose.
though. With this attorney, I'm not sure. No
Yes.
no offense, man, but
But you know what, though, to be fair, civil attorneys rarely go through trials, right? It's-
Absolutely.
so, you can't be too
All right,
hard.
let's
on them.
talk about a few things.
The notepad of
We're
glory.
not going to get done with you today because we have witnesses this afternoon, but I think we can go till noon. Is that all right with you?
that's weird.
Yes, sure.
Breaking up his
Whatever you like.
cross-examination like that. Because then it's like kind of the plaintiff's case in chief, and then maybe kind of the defense case in chief.
Did you ever say to me, I wrote, I'm famous because it's cool that I had a collision with a celebrity. Was that your thinking at the time? And you said yes. Do you deny it?
Not if you have it on record. No, I don't deny it. I don't remember it.
Well, only if you don't
let's
have
go
it
to
on record.
page
The opposite of what he
15.
said
Bring
earlier.
that up, move to publish the
But
deposition.
see, he's not listening to the
He said
answer.
yes,
He's like,
it's
oh, so
not,
if he wasn't
so
on
why
record,
would
you would
publish
deny
it?
it.
Because he earlier denied it.
I'll overrule the objection and permit that portion of the deposition to be published.
Yeah.
May I ask when this happened?
Sure. like 1 hour ago, 2 hours ago, you told this jury, I've never
100%.
thought it was cool
Yep.
that I had a collision with a celebrity. Do you recall that?
Yes, I guess I did say that. Absolutely.
I
And
remember you
that's
saying that.
not a true statement, is it?
But don't ask
You
that.
have said this in your deposition,
You have said
true?
opposite in your deposition.
Honestly, I don't ever remember saying it.
Bring it up
But-
whenever you
but-
can.
I don't.
Well, now his memory isn't so crystal clear, is it?
Impeach him. Impeach the
Okay,
bastard.
this is
That's what he's
page
doing.
15,
Teaching them right now.
line 5 through 8.
Yeah, they got
So
it.
the words "I'm famous," this is my question, seem to say, I think it's cool that I had a collision with a celebrity. Was that your thinking at the time? And your answer was yes. I guess, yes. Now let's go to your weight. You
Which,
testified
like, that's not quite the
today
same as like him,
that you were
him using those
163 and
specific words.
5'5".
I'll
But
take
he
it.
didn't
True.
dispute it. He
I'll
didn't
take
dispute it.
And do you agree that at your deposition, you told me you were 175 to 180 and 5'8"? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Qualified, yes.
No, I don't want to qualify.
I can't
Did you
answer
tell
it.
me that?
It's gotta
Like
be
I
mine.
said, how much do you weigh? And you said 175, 80. How much did you weigh? And then you said 5'8". How high are you? How tall are you? 3 inches different, right?
I just found that out. I didn't realize. I've had
Sir,
people telling me that.
You
honestly.
told this jury that at the time of the accident, you were 163 and 5'5". Did you not, like 2 hours ago?
I did, yes.
You sure
Yes.
did.
But you
I
told
was
me
there.
in your deposition years ago that you were 170 to 180 and 5'8". True?
How many years ago did we do this?
3
I've
years
lost-
ago.
So you've
I've
grown
lost a lot of
aware?
weight. I'm down to my usual weight.
And 3 inches.
You know we're interested not
height.
now in your weight today. We're interested in your weight on the
You know that
day.
Thank you.
osteoporosis can make a
I
person
knew where
shrink.
that was
Do you
going.
agree you were 5'8"?
Yes.
Have you shrunk 3 inches?
I couldn't believe it either. I wanted to argue because I think I'm 5'8" yet.
You do have degenerative back disease
I
and
didn't-
those
I didn't-
discs are
I've always-
getting squeezed. Is that why?
I have to say yes. I've always been 5'8.5", and I knew I shrunk a half an inch, but wow.
See, this is
Mr. Sanderson, we're trying, in council, let's not speak on top of one another so
Thank you.
that we have a clear, clean
So
record.
now he says he's 5'8" again?
Yes, Your
I
Honor.
don't know. Nobody knows, but that's good.
When
Because the jury-
It is
we
good.
talked
It's
about
very
you
good
being
for- it's very
unconscious,
good
and do you
for the
agree that someone who's unconscious doesn't have a stopwatch to figure out how long they were actually unconscious?
I agree. That's true.
Everything you've learned was from Craig after the collision.
No.
Yeah, that's over vague, and I'll withdraw it because I
I'm gonna
agree
object to
that's
my
not
He's
everything.
objecting his
It's
own
not-
question.
Right. As
Yeah.
far as
Questions over
level
vague.
of length of unconsciousness, do you agree that you weren't stopwatching yourself?
I have no idea.
And yet you did tell people it varied over time. First a few seconds, then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. You did that, right? Do you disagree?
Yes, it did vary.
And why did you do that? Why would you say, I don't know, then it's a few seconds, then it's 5 minutes, and then you told your psychiatrist at the VA it was up to 10 minutes long? Why did you change?
I had no idea, and I was searching. I really had no idea, and I was trying to answer. I sometimes make that mistake of guessing, but I really
You're making
didn't
up
know.
things.
And it was to try to get the attention
Things
of the
happen
doctor.
again.
Do you remember telling me that?
I don't. I don't know how to.
Let's find it.
Your brain is trying to fill in the pieces.
Exactly.
What's the date?
Let's go to
The
page
question then is,
95.
how can we regard his testimony on direct?
One.
He was
Yeah.
super
They're
detailed
all
about all of these
cumulative,
things.
so the page will tell you that. Page 95, starting at
I haven't been
Line
following this
7.
super closely. Has there been anyone who's testified?
when you
that
first
actually
tell your
witnessed this collision?
healthcare providers
Craig
a
Ramone,
few
his
seconds,
friend.
and then later it turned into
But
5 minutes,
Craig
and then
Ramone
later
is
it turned into
colorblind,
10 minutes.
and he also
Do you
was a
know
little
that
bendy
you
on
gave varying
cross-examination.
answers to people?
Mm.
And then whenever you can pull it up, page 95.
Yes.
The witness says, And then can we go to the middle paragraph? Yes, I do. And that was referencing the fact I personally did not know. I was not a witness to how long I was unconscious. And so somebody told me it was 2 seconds, and somebody said it was 10 seconds, 10 minutes.
Girl Scout, that's true.
And so I didn't know. It was hard for me to say. And then next paragraph, it depends on my visit. If I want to make a deal out of it, and that was the reason for my visit, then I might say for 10 minutes. I might pick the worst. That's kind of how we are.
No.
We go to the doctor's attention. We go to get the doctor's attention about a specific thing.
Oh no.
And it wasn't at that point how long I was unconscious was not a point of relevance.
He's basically
for me.
admitting to lying to the doctor just to get their attention.
That's your testimony, correct?
I'm even confused by those statements, so,
Yes or no?
yes, it is.
By the way, when we took your deposition, there's a lot of formality to it. Too, you're placed under oath just like the one you were put on today.
Yeah.
And your counsel's present, and you were able to talk to them before. Yes.
And I think I had,
Yes.
11 hours or so of deposition?
I can't really hear you, sir. But my question is, you had your advice of your counsel there.
Yes.
And I asked at the beginning of the deposition, is there any reason why you can't give me your best testimony today? And you said no, correct?
Yes.
And I even told you, I think, that if you testify differently at your deposition than you would in front of this jury, I would call it to their attention. Do you recall this?
Yes.
That's
And you
exactly
took
what
an
happened
oath,
now.
and you then had the opportunity to make any changes to your deposition transcript. Is that true?
Yes.
And did you?
No, I don't remember making any changes. I think I made 2 with you. I said 2 corrections and that I remembered.
Okay. You
And-
didn't.
and
You
you took
didn't
them.
make some, and counsel told you let's not submit those.
I haven't looked at these depositions at all. Not at all.
Do you dispute that? Well, I heard you call Eric Christensen, a Deer Valley instructor for 40 years, a bully. Did you say that?
I did say that, yes.
And then he was yelling at your face.
Yes. I figured out. I didn't actually know that until.
And we'll meet him at 1:00. Deer Valley's known, or at least puts itself out there, doesn't it, as like the most customer friendly they could possibly be. Do you agree?
I agree.
Were your skis on or off at the end of the collision? Do you know?
Absolutely, they were on.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you do remember some things after.
Yes.
And Craig, by the way, you said you weren't here for your daughters, but you haven't been here for several statements, right?
Several, yes.
It was more than just like, I don't want to make my daughters uncomfortable. You haven't been here for many.
I didn't.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Sam Goldstein said part of the reason is you don't take criticism well. Do you agree with that statement?
I always want to be a better person, and I even tell my kids.
Not a
if
yes
I'm doing
or no,
something wrong,
right?
Tell me.
Give a
I
full
wanna do that.
explanation.
All right. So do you agree or disagree with this statement? Mr. Sanderson does not take criticism well.
I disagree with that statement.
Hard for me to measure that. I've not been around other humans as much as I have been in the past. So it's hard for me to measure that. Honestly, I don't.
Do you agree that when Whitney came with the toboggan,
Mhm.
she asked you what happened, and you said, I don't know. Do you agree with that statement?
Now we know.
If that's on the record, I don't disagree with it. I don't remember that particular part of our interaction. I just remember she said something to me, and
It's the first question, right? Ski patroller comes up, by the way, you've hurt yourself before skiing, true?
Never
But-
needing help, right?
Before this
Yeah.
incident, though, you injured your knee.
I had, when I first learned to ski that first year.
All right.
Beaver. Mhm.
So you don't dispute that the first thing Whitney asked you was like, how are you? And what happened? Do you agree those are like the first two questions?
I have no recollection of those questions. I don't. I would think she would reach out to me, but I don't.
Did you ever complain to Deer Valley about Eric Christensen? Like I was treated like a bully?
I had a lot of time to think about it.
Yes or no?
I don't know if I did. I think when I contacted Deer Valley, I was
I
just
gotta
after I
run
wanted to
these
find out
slides.
who hit me and I
Great.
wanted to copy the
I'll
records.
I'll
and I
probably
didn't
back a little
bring it
later.
up.
Yeah. You never once wrote to Deer Valley like, hey, your ski instructor is a total SOB to me. He treated me poorly.
That's correct. I didn't bring it up because I did not want to cause some anger from him. I wanted to copy and find out who hit me.
I'll be
But
back.
7 years later, you're here saying he was terrible
Oh,
to
see you,
me.
Nate.
Just terrible. Craig Ramon said words to the effect that Christensen said to Ramon, your buddy took out Gwyneth Paltrow. Did you hear those words?
I did.
You personally heard them with your, so now I want to be clear because I'm not trying to confuse you. Did you hear them when you were on the ski
No.
slope? Okay. And Ramon did not do anything to try to set the record straight at that point. Do you know anything about that?
About who hit me?
Correct.
When we got down into
That
medical
point
care.
was my
Yeah.
question. On the mountain.
On the mountain, but in the shed. I was
Okay. You said your skis were on after the collision. Do you recall your head being downhill or uphill?
absolutely downhill. I was going down and absolutely.
So several witnesses say the opposite, and you disagree?
I disagree absolutely because I couldn't get up.
And where was Gwyneth's head when she came to arrest?
I
Head
have-
down, head up,
I have no idea. As far as I know, she didn't exist.
Now he's very,
because you didn't see anything.
very soft on the details.
I was out. I had no idea. Everything else is what I heard.
Did you tell Eric Christensen, according to his report, that she appeared right in front of me? Yes or no?
No.
So he just made
Never.
that up.
Must have.
Deer
Because-
Valley just falsified a record. Is that your opinion?
I never would have said that. I knew where it came from.
You know you sued Deer Valley in this claim, true?
Yes.
Sustained.
And we're not dealing with any of that today. True? We're not dealing with the,
Objection, relevance, move to strike.
Sustained. The question is stricken.
Yeah,
The
he
jury
does
should
this a lot.
disregard.
so,
Sustained
Your Honor,
objection
I just
against
want
him and he
to
just,
be able
like,
to
tries
ask
again.
if you're willing, is you're not suing Deer Valley today.
Your Honor, objection, third objection now, move to strike again.
Sustained, stricken,
Okay.
disregard, please.
I hear you saying you were flying through the air after she hit you. Did you say those words? Yes
Today?
Or, yes or no?
Today?
Today.
I did.
Yeah, and everyone agrees that's not possible. All of the experts, his experts, Gwyneth Paltrow.
With regard to relationships prior, you had 2 divorces, true?
I did, yes.
And then was it about 10 years of just dating various different other women?
I guess I wouldn't know exactly. Wouldn't be unreasonable, maybe.
Well, I'm just saying if the incident occurred in 2016, when was your second divorce? About 10 years
30
earlier.
ago. I'm thinking 30 years ago, I'm thinking.
All right. So, I mean, it's nice that Carlene, you'd found a nice partner, but you were not engaged. Is that true?
We were not.
And
That's
she
where we
was
had-
actually living hundreds of miles away from you?
We went back and forth. It's 3 hours, 4 hours maybe, the most.
A couple hundred miles, I think, isn't it?
I don't know.
St. George. We'll move on.
Thank you.
Do you recall saying that you agreed that saying I'm famous was a crazy thing to say? Agree?
Absolutely, it's not me. I don't buy into that.
But it was you, right? Just to be clear. When you say it wasn't me, it was in fact you.
It's the other personality that's inhabiting my body right now.
And you blame Gwyneth Paltrow for that.
Yes, no question.
Do you recall having a kind of a stroke event like 10 years or so before the incident?
Yeah, but that diagnosis has been changed.
But it's an ischemic retinal occlusion.
Probably due to a migraine.
And you lost your right eye in that.
I lost some vision in that eye, yes.
And that was one of the reasons you retired.
One of many. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In terms of your anger, do you agree you sought therapy for anger management about 10 years ago?
I don't.
Or 15 years ago? I guess 06, about the time of your second divorce. Because if you deny it, we're going to pull it up.
I don't remember that purpose, but yes, okay. Was I seeing a shrink or?
So you can't ask me questions, unfortunately.
Sorry, thank you.
All I'm trying to have you say yes or no, and then we go to documents if we need to. So do you agree that you were seeing a therapist at the VA for anger management about 10 years, even before the incident?
I honestly don't remember it, but if you say so, I believe you.
Yeah, I can't
Let's go to the
testify.
document.
So if you dispute it, then we go to the record.
I don't look at these records. I have it, 5,000 pages.
So you don't
Let's
dispute
go to the
it.
record.
I don't.
Okay. And
Okay. So you had an anger management problem long ago. So
Anger management problem, yes. Now, are we going to get
did
into
you tell Shay that there was a GoPro recording?
Absolutely not.
Do you recall at the exact time of this event, going down the hill, you were sort of crossing over to the right? Does that sound accurate?
No.
You were always on the right?
Yes.
Okay, Christensen is going to testify this afternoon, so we'll talk about that. And
say Eric Christensen?
do you agree in the 5 seconds or so before the collision, there was a female skier, kind of beginner-ish, on your left?
Yes.
And do you agree that you actually tilted your head to the left to sort of confirm that you weren't going to hit her, that she would be okay?
After the accident?
5 seconds before the
Before,
accident.
no.
Did you so testify ever?
I saw her. I don't know. What I remember is I always saw her. She was a little uncomfortable, and I gave her a little more room. Just kind of what you do.
And
Passing on your right.
And did you turn because of your right eye is blind?
No.
Did you turn toward her?
No reason to.
Look, you did not.
No.
Okay, we'll pull that up in
Please.
probably at our next visit.
This is going to be so weird to have this cross-examination over like multiple sessions.
call him on direct.
You texted about Whitney, the toboggan
Yes.
person, how happy you were with her. True?
I did, yes. Give her
And-
full credit.
And we both read it. It's pretty articulate, pretty detailed, right?
It is.
You knew you were being subjected to a brain test, like a memory test,
Well, I'm not. Okay, go ahead.
right? Didn't you tell us that? When she said, I want you to remember some things.
Yes, oh yes, absolutely.
Okay, you knew you were being subject to a brain
Oh, and
memory test.
I've never focused so hard.
And you came through with flying colors,
I
right? You
did.
knew them all.
I did.
Remember President Trump said they gave me 5 things to remember and I got them all. Do you remember this?
I don't pay
Person,
attention.
woman,
Sustained.
man, camera, TV.
You called her a sweetheart and that she entertained you. And that was all really within a half hour of the incident, a half hour of the collision. Is that true?
I don't remember the time frame. Carlene may have been there by then. I don't know. She was helpful.
But it was at the base where the toboggan went down to.
Yes.
That wasn't, well, tell me, is that at the bottom of Deer Valley or is that a mid-level
Mid-level,
clinic?
I think. I think it was mid.
All right. And
I was so-
is there a picture of you two in a wheelchair smiling? Do you remember that picture?
I haven't seen it.
Ever?
I don't remember seeing it, no.
Which
Shay mentioned it,
You
that there was a
could
picture of you,
have a
and maybe it was
big
at the
injury and then
Instacare.
put
Do you
a
remember
case on it.
anyone, any picture of you in the Instacare in a wheelchair smiling?
No, I don't.
Okay, and I asked you about it, and you said I just smiled because they told me.
If somebody says smile.
Someone said smile, and you smiled.
I don't.
Does this
remember.
ring a bell from your deposition?
It does not.
Okay,
But that's,
so you took a picture of Whitney, right?
I did.
Composed that very nice email with all the details, and then you sent it to your group.
Probably say I composed it. Could have had Carlene's help. She may have been there then.
And that's, well, you did it though, right? You came up with those exact words. Carlene didn't do that.
I may have helped her.
Well, she doesn't know she grew up in Michigan, that she's won the Deer Valley collision or the Deer Valley Grand whatever race, right?
That's right.
All right.
She doesn't know that.
Do you think Carlene was present at the Deer Valley Clinic?
I know she wasn't at the Deer Valley Clinic. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No. It was when we
I
got
may have
home.
misunderstood.
She was on her way.
Do you remember Carlene didn't buy into this? Was that your quotes in terms of your, did you say those words just like an hour or two ago?
Carlene didn't buy into what, Mr. Owens?
Do you remember saying those words? She wasn't buying into this.
What was the question?
It was why your relationship with her deteriorated after the collision.
I misspoke. I absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not sure I understand the.
Okay. To be clear on that issue, and I realize I'm jumping around, but I'm keeping an eye on the clock. Did you, with regard to Carlene, it sounds like you shut it down. You shut the relationship down. Is that true?
I made a very strong statement that she was going to be better off without me. Yes.
And you told her that?
You said you.
So Carlene was here
made
a
her
couple
leave.
days ago and said, he never told me. Did you tell her?
just
I had
said-
no idea
I
why.
told her what I said. What I thought I said was, Carlene, you got to run. I don't want you stuck with me.
The next
And I knew
lady
you would stay by me.
wasn't too good for you.
She was at the right level.
So then you started calling your daughters. It sounds like even before the I'm famous thing. Is that true?
I don't remember that, honestly.
Shay said she took a call from you about 6 something.
Okay.
So about 6 hours later.
Okay.
Have you ever read her depositions,
No,
by the way, or Jenny's?
I told him I wouldn't.
Okay. And they had even expressed like, hey, Dad, we're kind of concerned because we got to talk about you and how you were growing up and things. And we're kind of concerned that it will hurt your feelings. Do you recall this?
I didn't know why, but I don't remember them telling me that. I decided that before.
All right. So you're at the clinic. You take a picture. This is at this on the Deer Valley Hill. You take a picture of Ramon and one of the other skiers, and they're all smiles. Did you know that?
Boy, that's A little bit. I do kind of remember that. Uh-huh.
Can you bring up the picture of
I do.
Ramon? Sure.
Yeah. I believe that did happen.
And
I don't remember them being smiles.
okay, we'll
Two
pull
people.
it up here.
Okay.
And do you have the number D? I'm gonna find it. 1 second.
Yeah, I think early on in this cross-examination, he really just dismantled his memory just to show like really there's a lot that you really don't remember. As soon as he's pressed,
87. D87 moved to admit. I think it was.
If not, he'll get.
Go ahead.
D87 received.
Do you remember, and I can give you a hard binder if you want. It looks like the monitor's working. Do you recognize that you took this picture?
I recognize the picture and I probably did take it.
All right.
Smile, you know.
When you went to the Instacare, do you have a personal memory of that?
I really don't. I don't remember if I had an x-ray. It's like,
Okay, I think the physician assistant's coming tomorrow, but he wrote no signs of confusion.
Oh.
Do you dispute that?
no, wasn't there. Not him.
Do you agree that in your post-collision talk with Shay about 6 hours after the incident, you told her, "I'm okay"?
That would be me. My
Yes.
parents didn't find out I was divorced until the last day. I don't want to put them through that misery. I don't share my information.
All right, so I think
Your
that's
kids
a
didn't
yes,
find out
but
you
I'm
were
going to
divorced
re-ask
until it
'cause
was
we
done?
need to get it clear. At 6 o'clock,
There's
just
no-
hours,
I feel like
6
this
hours
family
after the collision,
isn't
did you
very
tell your
tight.
daughter
That's
Shay,
the impression that I've
"I'm
gotten
okay"? Yes?
from the
Yes.
testimony.
Thank you.
Overruled.
And then on the hill itself, with the accident having occurred just in the prior minutes, do you agree that someone asked you, "Are you okay"?
That is absolutely beyond a doubt wrong. No one spoke to me when I was needing help. No one stopped. No one.
I don't.
So
I don't
your
trust his
testimony
confidence in that statement.
Is
though.
Eric Christian looked at an unconscious man for several minutes? Is that your testimony?
Yes, he never said one word to me that I recall. Maybe when he caught me up.
So Ramon, although he did try to change his deposition, did say that at one point you said, "I'm okay." Do you dispute it?
I dispute it.
Now,
I
to
never felt
dispute it,
okay.
you have to know everything you said, right? Like, I know everything I said, and I didn't say it. Are you saying you have a perfect memory of what you said on that hill just after the collision? Yes or no?
I knew.
It's an argumentative.
Is this
It's
cross-examination?
not argumentative.
Overruled.
Yes or no?
Um,
Say yes or no, please.
question again, please.
Yes. Do you agree that you do not have a perfect memory of what you told others after in the 1, 2 minutes, 3 minutes after the collision? Or do you have a perfect memory?
Well, that word is so ultimate, perfect. No,
Right.
An answer would be no, it's not perfect.
Okay. So it's possible you said, for instance, Eric Christensen is going to testify, first witness this afternoon, that you told him, "I'm okay." Do you dispute it?
I dispute it. I
Okay.
never felt safe and like anybody was there to help me.
And then
I would not have said it.
he's about to testify that not only he was there, but a ski patroller duo came over. One of them came over and said, "Do you guys need any help?" or words to that effect. And that you consulted with Ramon and then said, "No." Do you dispute it?
I absolutely would have said no. I never said safe.
So I don't want to say what I would have said. I want to know if you remember. Do you remember that?
No,
you-
I
Okay.
don't remember.
In fact, you don't even remember that ski patrollers came by. True?
No, I do not remember that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, Jonathan Anderson, this is the importance of this is because of his claim that he was just left on the mountain. So not
We
so much
talked about your
he was
right
okay,
eye, but your
what are they
left
gonna
eye
think if he
also
says
has
he's okay, you know? Not that he
some
actually was okay,
severe
but that was the
vision loss.
impression
Is
that
that
got.
true?
No, I see 20/20 in that eye.
Did you have a cataract in that eye?
I did.
And that cataract's been removed
Yes.
since the ski collision.
Yes.
You had a cataract in your eye at the time of the ski collision?
Which then it's like, well, what did you actually see? And also, should you have been skiing?
Yep.
There's
So
a
basically
report
every
on
piece of this
February
testimony is
4,
questionable.
2015 that his
Yeah.
vision in his left eye is decreasing
We are at best
blind
muddy
in
middle
right
ground.
eye. Was your left eye decreasing 1 year before the ski collision?
Increasing in visual acuity or
Sorry.
in prescription?
Yeah, you gotta be
Decreasing.
serious.
Was your left eye decreasing?
In what?
Yes, getting less need for prescription,
Okay.
but not the visual acuity.
Now, in addition to your stroke, you also had your heart was not perfect. Do you agree? Before the ski collision?
Perfect. Of course, I couldn't agree with the word perfect. No,
Palpitation. You had palpitations. Agreed.
had them most of my life.
Yeah. How many years?
40 years probably.
And what's the lay term for palpitation? Is it just
It's called
unusual beat?
It's just a little out of sync that happens when I'm really tired, or if I've been on the treadmill too long or running too long and hard, then it will get a little funny syncope. It's called PCVs.
So your beat's off. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but it's nothing.
Yeah.
I notice it doesn't change.
Okay. But you were on two different high blood pressure medications. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And that's because one wasn't adequate. You needed both.
Well,
Objection relevance.
We're going to I can explain if you want, Your Honor, that this event changed.
Witnesses that to which this forms part of their opinion.
Sure,
Oh
his
my
overall
God.
health. Yes.
There's no claim that his heartbeat or anything was affected by this accident.
Your Honor, he says this has utterly changed his life.
Just a minute. Counsel, would you approach, please?
Hey, Girl Scout, thank you so much for that suggestion. I completely forgot to put closed captioning on. So yes, we will have that on at the top of the screen for the rest of this. The more this goes on, the more I feel like we're at muddy middle best.
Yeah.
This is just,
I find him nothing about it strikes me as genuine. It just all strikes me as artificial and like a person who has been trying to reconstruct their memory, and which is understandable under the situations, but they're not a credible witness as to, what happened.
yeah.
And
I think,
in the absence of anyone who was there, and apparently there was lots of people there, so it's surprising that no one else saw this collision or no one heard anything, or it seems it's not enough evidence here.
yeah, there's just not enough. There are some questions about the like, what's the relevance of the hard stuff? My guess is that the defense is probably saying, look, we've talked to his daughters, we've talked to his ex-girlfriend, we asked them about, his pre-existing conditions before this accident and what they actually really knew about, because there's a lot that they were like, would it surprise you if he was dealing with depression? Would it surprise you if he was dealing with anxiety? And they were like, yes, yes, yes. And I think heart palpitations or heart issues was one of them. So it's like, he's not telling them about a number of these things that he's been dealing with, which goes to how much we can actually rely on them for before and after testimony. So, anyway, yeah. I will say though, I think that he is sincere in the fact that he has been through things. I don't think that he's necessarily had some good years since 2016. And so I think that there has been some hardship there, whatever form that's taken, I don't know. But I just haven't seen enough to say that Gwyneth
In
Paltrow is
recess at this
responsible
time and
for
return
it.
at 1:30. Thank you.
Oh my, 30-minute recess. Okay. Well, did we blow through lunchtime?
I
What
guess
time is it?
it's 1 o'clock in the
Let me look
central
at-
in Texas. It's probably dinner for you.
Yeah, it's it's noon there?
May be seated. So
Yeah,
council,
there.
Okay.
consistent
hour
with the
and a half,
motion
okay.
and limine ruling
Guys,
that the
math.
court gave at the, before trial, Mr. Sanderson, you can certainly step down. There was a laundry list of medical issues, and medical issues, if they're relevant, they absolutely should come in. If they're not relevant, they should not come in. So there will need to be, I need from you an assurance that this is a conditional relevance situation, and that you will tie in the relevance later, and not just a vague statement from an expert that this guy had a lot of health problems before. I need to know, it needs to be tied in. So maybe you want to look at the reports or depositions to make sure that whatever it is that you're examining this witness on will be tied in later by a medical expert as to the relevance, either before or after. Either one of those would be relevant.
James is sort of on the damages end, so I'll defer to him on the specifics. But we are talking, when they say it's utterly ruined my life, we're talking about the whole package. And aging is one of the primary, just normal aging is one of the primary issues for our experts. And so we got to look at the whole package, not how about this heart thing, and how about this prostate thing, and how about this. We will argue, and our experts will back it, is that that's the reason he is kind of slowly deteriorating, progressive aging. Okay.
So
Gwyneth
take a
Paltrow
look
doesn't
at
need to
what
be
the
there for
opinions
this.
will be, and if
This
they're,
is not in front of the jury.
if you feel
It's
as though
just
they're tied
oral
in,
argument.
then you can go into those areas.
Thank you. It seemed like there was one other issue. Okay, I just want to kind of put this on the stand. So I had 7 witnesses lined up. I was supposed to take over the case this morning at 9 a.m. Many are out of state. Plaintiffs' counsel, I don't dispute everyone's working hard, but it has significantly thrown off my witness list to the point that I'm actually having to cancel witnesses, and so that we can read their transcripts. And some people, some of our experts in particular, flying in out of state, I can testify during this small window. And as of last night, they were going to be done at 10, then it was 11, and they still haven't rested.
There were delays today because of weather.
True. I guess I'm not really blaming people, except for I still don't have the case. They're not ready to rest. Multiple assurances that they were going to rest on Friday. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my impression too.
And also for the record, the court didn't issue an order concerning, when one case must be rested and one other must be rested. I've been leaving it up to counsel to work that out, and from my perspective, it looks like everyone's doing the best they can.
Everyone's working hard. I don't dispute it, but it's hard when I have kids flying in.
Understand.
Well, if they're Gwyneth Paltrow's kids, I don't feel so bad about that.
We'll be fine.
Why don't we take lunch? Be back at 1:30.
Yeah, so it's an hour and a half lunch.
You're getting a
break,
printout
so-
for the amount of trial time that's been used so far.
Yes.
As soon as we get to a working printer.
All right. So We are officially at lunch.
Well, I understand the attorney's frustration on the scheduling issues
Mm-hmm.
because, you
I
know, you
definitely
want to
get
have
that.
people come in and fly in, and that's expensive, especially experts come in. And if experts are
I
sitting on
mean,
their thumbs and they're billing, you know.
yeah. Well, and I mean, if you've got other people that are witnesses that just they have lives to live too, you know, if you're having to cancel them because of the fact that you know they can't come in because of the scheduling has changed, has shifted. I don't know. I mean, I would imagine he probably had conversations with them about that possibility, but it does make it it can potentially create a hardship. So I understand him raising that, bringing it in front of the judge, but yeah, I don't know, man. So, okay. So it sounds like we're going to be picking up with more of his cross-examination after lunch. And this is a good question, Kit Kat. Will you be staying for the hour and a half break and or covering the rest later? Do you know? I think that what I'm probably going to do is talk for a little bit and then start a second stream for the afternoon session. Just so that I can have a little bit of a break and I can finally eat my food. Which I've
What you
had
got?
since the beginning. It's like a taco bowl salad kind of thing that I made.
Nice. Looks nice. Very
Yeah.
attractive.
Yeah. Slow cooked
I have soup.
chicken. Soup is good. Soup is always
Yeah.
good.
It was one of the more popular
So-
live streams I've done recently is making soup. I'm not sure what that says about anything, but people like me making soup.
For sure. So yeah, so I can send out a new link, and then if folks want to come back, then we can watch the second half of the day together, and kind of go from there. But I there's also a point in the trial too where the jury has basically made up their mind, and I feel like for me personally, even though I always want to be open-minded to, maybe this next witness comes on the stand and it completely changes my perspective on things. But going into it, I was kind of like, I feel like I've heard his story so many times through other people, and I'm really getting very suspicious. And so like kind of knowing what he was going to be testifying to somewhat, I was just like, I don't know that I'm going to get from this what he's hoping. And so far, that seems to have been the case. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, this is really working for me. So, and I've not, with what little bit I've been seeing, haven't been really impressed with the case at hand. So, I haven't been paying super close attention. So maybe it's going better than my perception, but doesn't seem like it's going great. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what I really need in my life is some sort of recap for days 1 through 4. Do you know where I could find anything like that?
Yeah, there's a recap right here on this channel actually that I just
There is.
published earlier today.
Wow.
It's funny because it's a 30-minute video, and yet it's like such a truncated recap of days 1 through 4, and basically talking about why I thought that at this point going into Sanderson's testimony that Gwyneth Paltrow is winning. Not to say that she's going to win, but at this point in time, she is winning this trial. And for so many reasons. So yeah, you can spend a good 30 minutes checking that out and getting totally caught up.
Well, I'm definitely going to give it a second watch.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, I definitely need to go back and see the Craig Ramone second look testimony now, because he was on the stand, and this was when I was having issues with my internet. And so I basically missed all of his testimony today, but it sounded like they had found this other conversation between him and someone else. I don't exactly know where that came from or what sparked it, but it seems like everyone would have had access to that conversation through discovery before this point. But yeah, I don't know. So far, it's not doing it for me. It's really not. Yeah, Diana, I don't doubt that he has medical issues, but I'm doubting that she's responsible for it. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. That's exactly where I'm at, because it's I don't think that I can go so far as to say that he's scamming her, that he's lying, that he's, I think that he probably has, at least on some level, a sincere belief of what it is that he's saying. Even when he says, like, with full confidence and conviction, like, no, it was absolutely this. The problem is that when he had such conviction on direct examination, then on cross examination, some of those things that he said with such conviction were proved to be inaccurate, or he had said something otherwise previously. That doesn't help when he then later says something with conviction about something else, because you're just like, well, I don't know, like, you believe it, or you make it look so, but I don't know how much I can trust your confidence in this. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Micah Pritchard Berman. Terry's a bit off here. Some narcissists that I know, and I don't. It's so hard to tell, because there hasn't really been much discussion of like narcissistic personality disorder or anything. Like, I don't think that it's come up like at all. So there hasn't been any sort of like psychological diagnosis of these things that has come up, other than anxiety and depression, which, like, that's like, we can all basically understand those. Like, those are well, not to say that they don't get misrepresented. They do, but less so than, say, for example, in the Debbie Heard trial, we talked a lot about BPD, borderline personality disorder, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, so the narcissist thing, I don't know if I can go so far about the whole narcissism thing. Maybe he has some narcissistic tendencies, but those could have been amplified in recent years. But I still haven't seen enough, for me personally, to be able to delineate that what it is that he is going through, what he's been suffering, what he's been experiencing has been a result of the accident, as opposed to a natural progression of his prior pre-existing conditions. So, like, the experts previously did a really good job. His experts, they did a really good job, I think, of sort of hammering in this idea that his symptoms that are kind of connected to those pre-existing conditions, that's basically like, they framed it well, that those are like eggshell skull kind of symptoms, right? So eggshell skull plaintiff, as opposed to the natural progression. But I think that once we hear from the experts on the other side, they're gonna frame it very succinctly and very, very squarely on natural progression of his injuries. So,
Yep.
and muddy middle goes to the defendant.
And of course, I mean, it's not necessarily an all or nothing proposition. The jury could split the difference also as well. Because if the question is how much of it is due to natural factors and how much of it is due to this ski accident, if you believe Gwyneth Paltrow caused it, then of course it's not 100%. So the jury could think, well, 20% of this is due to it. And so the award should be 20% of what he asked for, because only 20% of it's her fault. So, it's a question of fact. What percentage of this is due to this accident or not? And go from there. Of course, you have to first come to the first conclusion that she caused the accident in the first place, which also is a little bit in doubt at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. There's a member chat from Lucky. Can I add pineapple to my pizza at 9 months or no? Referring, of course, to the pizza emoji that you get when you've been a member for 9 months. Unfortunately, if you want, I can maybe add a pineapple emoji for members. You want to do that? I can add that to the list of the emojis that I still have to to upload. But yeah, Marcus Brandon, it was weird to me how much he couldn't remember. How much he couldn't remember, but he was so sure of certain things all occurring in the same time frame. Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed. Address, yeah, he sounds like a medical walking time bomb and should be responsible for his choice of going into a potentially dangerous situation in his condition.
No, that's not fair.
Yeah, I would
I
agree.
mean, that last
I would
point,
agree.
that last part's not fair. He's
because
entitled to go about his life, and he's entitled to ski, and he's entitled to other people not behaving in a negligent way. The fact that he's frail and more vulnerable, if you assume that Gwyneth Paltrow is negligent, is completely irrelevant. It's like he has the right to go about. Everyone has the right to go about and enjoy their life. You know, they have a right to do things, and if they're hurt more because of a condition, that's on the person hurting them. So, you know, there's that.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Secret McScroll, I see your. Hang on. I see your chat in the chat. There's a. Oh, come on now. Let's just. Okay, here we go. What is this? This is. Oh no, Ian Runkle. Okay, let me share this. Ian's got some jokes.
Ian's good for jokes. I had jokes that I didn't tell.
He is good for jokes. Midjourney providing an image reflecting that day. Looks like Colonel Sanders in a ski suit, not wearing a helmet. Although apparently he was wearing a helmet. Oh my goodness, that is so funny. Ian is so great with his jokes. Thank you, Secret Rick Squirrel. I appreciate it. Okay. So, Donna Lover, thanks so much for your super chat. It says, what was the new meetup evidence just discovered? So apparently it just was a link to a post about Whitney, the ski patrol lady who took him down on the toboggan, and it was like a photo of her and like saying like, you know, thanks to her or something like that. Like she's a great person. I don't know. That apparently was it. But I also, my question about that is, if the post right now is photos, I don't know enough to know about Meetup to know, can those posts be edited? You know, like tweets, unless you have a blue check mark now, you know, you can't edit those. Other things you can edit. Would there have been a video previously along with those photos? I don't know. I'm not sure. So I would like to get that clarification. I don't know. But regardless, either way, there still was GoPro video that was referenced in that email by Shay, his daughter. So there's at least this suggestion that it existed at some point. Shibaka Wookie, thanks so much for the super chat. It says, feels like an episode of The Simpsons. Dr. Nick and Lionel Hutz. Funny how he only has memory issues during cross. He's seeing the forest for the trees. And that's exactly it. That's why, you know, that's why we do cross-examinations, right? Because during direct, a witness will look great. They'll look wonderful. They'll look squeaky clean. And this is something that it has happened so far in classic trials. We're going through the Menendez trial. Every single witness that like was a lay witness was completely destroyed on cross-examination. After I was like, oh, this seems like a really good person. This guy seems like a really good friend. And then it turns out like he's a terrible person. No. And it was just completely demolished. But yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing here is that he I don't know how much they really prepared him for this whole experience is my concern, because his legal team would know, like they would know that this is the experience for him to expect, is like, you are going to sit on cross-examination. You are going to be in the hot seat. You are going to be grilled with all kinds of questions about everything, which is another reason why I feel like the justification for his not being there is just complete BS. Because if he has a hard time hearing his daughters talk about his symptoms, or he doesn't want to make them uncomfortable with his presence or something like that, it's not good enough, because he has to sit in this discomfort during cross-examination. it's not, I don't know. It's just not working for me. But what was my point? The point was about the memory issues on cross-examination. When you do a direct examination, you know the cross-examination is coming up. And so you want to set up your witness for success. You want to set it up so that they go through cross-examination, they're asked tough questions, and realistically, nothing really changes for the perception of the jury. But if you have a witness that is just getting completely destroyed on cross-examination, I feel like part of that is because the direct examination was just kind of setting them up a little bit too loftily. And I feel like that happened here. And it's on a certain level, it's kind of sad to see, because it does seem like he does think he does seem to have a sincere belief in what he said on direct examination. All of that detail, all of that. And then suddenly when pressed, and then suddenly confronted with other things that he said previously, then it's like, I don't know what happened, man. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it just the way he tells the story, the way that the way the details just feels too contrived. It feels too inauthentic. I mean,
does.
I don't doubt something happened to him, but I mean, he's just not a reliable witness to what that is. And he's not a reliable witness to, but I mean, by his own testimony, I mean, he doesn't remember a lot of these things because, he had something horrible happen to him. He's just not a particularly reliable witness. So in the absence of someone else who was there and can testify to it and say, well, this is what I saw, this is what I observed, or footage would be nice, or things like that. But, it's just not enough here from him for me to get what I need. So,
Yeah.
because I have to be able to say, well, this is what happened. And if like he had seen it coming and, seen the collision or something, that would be one thing. But he's not saying that, he's like, I was going downhill, my face was downhill, head was downhill, I remember falling to the ground with my arms extended and then don't remember anything. He's saying things to other people, ski patrol who's there, he's not remembering those things that were said. His memory is lapsed. So, and and that, but then again, of course, on the other hand, it's like what the injuries that supposedly came from this, and sort of the long-term injuries, like he's testifying about how he's part of this green team and he's lifting these heavy pieces of aluminum and taking, what did he say, like 20,000 steps or something, because they're going up and down the stadium, to get the pieces of aluminum and whatever. And it's like, okay. I actually volunteered to help clean out a stadium one time. It was a lot of work after a football game at Clemson.
Yeah.
It's part of a giving back to the community thing. It's like, man, you're just going up and down the stadium steps with a goddamn leaf blower, trying to get rid of all the trash from under the things and trying to pick up things. And it's a lot of effort. So, I mean, I haven't had that experience, or at least something comparable once in my life. I'm like, okay, that's a lot. It's a lot of steps going up and down over and over. So,
Yeah.
you're a pretty
for
fit
sure.
guy. I got to take this
Yeah,
call. Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think that there's just there's too much detail in his memory of this stuff that it's very clear to him until he's on cross-examination, the physical injuries. And the thing is, I mean, I don't doubt that he broke his ribs on this fall. It seems like everyone has agreed that he broke his 4 ribs during this fall. The snow was apparently packed that day. The break happened when he hit the ground, as opposed to when he hit Paltrow or Paltrow hit him. Because I'm not
My
fully
accountant
convinced
calling
one
me
way
about
or
my
another.
taxes.
Ooh, taxes are fun.
Yes, taxes are fun. How big is the check do I have to write, Alita?
That's the question. That's the question for me this year too. Oh man. I mean, it's a good problem to have though, right? It's a
Is it
good
though?
problem to have.
That's what my
Oh
uncle
man.
says. I'm not so sure about that one.
Yeah, and this is an interesting point to Soulfire on Fire 64. Both he and his daughter Shay pulled the same act. They have very selective memory. She also kind of did the same thing where she had, very clear memory, and then on cross-examination, like, I don't really know. So yeah, I don't
No,
know,
it wasn't
man.
court
I don't know.
ordered community service. No, Derek, I was just trying to be nice. Damn. They asked for volunteers. I volunteered.
Oh man.
Jerk.
Yeah. And Derek Boodle, injuries are accurate, but negligence and cause are not answered. That's exactly it. I mean, because I don't, again, I don't doubt that he has these other injuries, or that he suffered from them in the moment. As to whether or not what he's suffering from right now is more psychological or neurological, I don't know. I'm not convinced that it's because he's got things going on wrong in his brain. But has she breached her duty of reasonable care on the slopes? I don't know. If she did, is that what caused his injuries? I don't know. That means she wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. Well, I think that I am going to end this stream here and then pick up right before we pick up testimony coming in from lunch. So, Kurt, if you'd like, you are more than welcome to join me in the afternoon. No worries. I'm not going to hold you to it because you've spent a few hours with me here, which has been wonderful. And it was so great having Nate here too. Oh, and also, oh gosh, before I go, I've got to get these. I need to get these super chats. I am so sorry, guys. Just because, thanks so much for the super chat. Says maybe he's just admitting he's 5'5" now. I've known younger men who add to their height. That's interesting. That is interesting. I wouldn't have known about that, but that is interesting. Although I would think that when you're under oath, because under a deposition you're under oath as well, and then now in court, I would think that you'd be a little bit more careful about that. I don't know. Ellen Lee, thanks so much for the super chat. Says, want to give Nate some love. Really enjoyed your take on Spidey's channel regarding Chris Rock. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so sorry that I didn't pull this up when he was here earlier, but I have to check that out. I didn't realize that they did a collaboration together. Spidey's collabs are always awesome. So anyway, yeah, I hope to see all of you guys back in about an hour because it's hour and a half lunch. We've talked through about a half an hour of that, and then see what's going on next because this guy, I don't know. This has been wild. And Kurt, I hope to see you back too if you can make it. Cool. So okay, with that, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.